You get a fast car. I want to get to anywhere. Maybe we make a deal. Maybe together we can get somewhere. Any place is better. Starting from zero, got nothing to lose. Maybe we'll make something. Me, myself, I got nothing to prove. You got a fast car. I got a plan to get us out of here. Been working everything can stop. Managed to save just a little bit of money. Won't have to drive too far. Just cross the border and into the city. You and I can both get jobs. Finally see what it means to be living. See, my old man's got a problem. Yeah, but the bottle, that's the way it is. He says his body's too old for work. Body's too young to look like his. My mama went off and left him. She wanted more from life than he could give. I said, somebody's got to take care of him. I quit school, that's what I did. You got a fast car. Is it fast enough so you can fly away? You gotta make a decision. Leave tonight or live and die this way. So remember when you were driving in your car. Speed so fast, it felt like I was drunk. City lights lay out before us, and your arms felt like wrapped around my shoulders. I get high, got a feeling that I belong. I get high, got a feeling I could be someone, be someone, be someone. You got a fast car. We go cruising, entertain ourselves. Still ain't got no time. Now work in the market as a checkout girl. I know things will get better. You'll find work now, get promoted and move out of the shelter. Buy a bigger house and live in the suburbs. So remember when we were driving in your car. Speed so fast, it felt like I was drunk. City lights stay out before us, and your arms felt nice wrapped around my shoulders. I get high, had a feeling that I belong. I get high, had a feeling I could be someone, be someone, be someone. You got a fast car. I got a job, pays all our bills. Instead, I'm drinking day at the bar. Some more your friends and you do your kids. I always hope for better. But maybe together you and me find if they got no plans. Take your fast car and keep on driving back. You got a fast car. It's fast enough so you can fly away. You gotta make a decision. Leave tonight or live and die this way.
All right, all right, all right. You are welcome, welcome, welcome. We are doing hands-on talking with connecting with a very I just found him a very inspirational brother. You know what? We are coming so hard, y'all, with these with our preparation for Clean Malcolm X Day. It is only right that we're bringing in some of the best speakers, some of the best artists in order to celebrate this day to its fullest potential. I met and was just incredibly impressed with this brother that's going to be joining us today for Glow Nation. Let me cam up y'all real quick. Okay, I am sorry. Let me just cam up and get the brand. situated. Because I was really impressed on Friday last week. Actually, we met at a city hall rally here in Atlanta, and the things that he is speaking about, they are exactly relate to what we discuss here on this show, right? With being an advocate and being a glower for someone else, right? Being able to light a torch for someone else, because sometimes in these situations the people can't light the torches themselves. Y'all see me? Y'all, my 4C is doing something today. I want y'all to know. Jeremiah smiling because he knows this wasn't doing this on Friday. It wasn't. It was not. It wasn't doing this on Friday. Y'all, I'm feeling like I got some real texture going on here. I'm feeling awesome. So, without further ado, I'm going to be bringing him to the panel today. We're going to have a candid conversation about how his work started, how his passion for this particular area of advocacy, really how it took flight here in Atlanta. As you all know, Atlanta is one of the highest places for sex trafficking, human sex trafficking of adolescents. What does that mean, you all? So, what does that mean when I say, oh, it's human sex trafficking, but it's for adolescents, it's for youth? Um, these are children before the ages of, even, I think they were saying that the youngest ages that they found in a recent Georgia raid, it was a girl that was 3 years old that was being trafficked. And the reason why we say human trafficking and it's such a issue with our youth is because human trafficking is an issue internationally, but with Atlanta in particular, it's an issue when it comes to our youth. And when I say it's our youth, these are Black youth that are being, you all. But human trafficking, child sex trafficking, is an issue. And sexual and child sex abuse and exploitation is an issue nationally. But when you talk about concentrated wise, it affecting the African American communities, Atlanta is one of the highest. And that's a very scary thing. As you all know, I'm a mother. I'm a mother of two. I am a lifelong educator. And I definitely continue to work on programs with youth. And so when I find people like Jeremiah with such a passion and such a heart for advocacy for the voiceless, because a lot of times that's what happens. You lose your voice in this process, in this abuse. People, the youth especially, they lose their voice. So we want to make sure that we're engaged. We want to make sure that if you all have any questions, please be very mindful in the chat. As you all know, what I do once I bring someone onto the panel, I monitor. I see what's going on in the chat, and we want to make sure that we're being very consistent with this conversation. And y'all, I didn't get a chance to put that audible menu item up on the screen, but that was Fast Car by none other than D. Tracy Chapman. Y'all tell me, when that song hit, who didn't really feel like, you know what, no matter what they were going through in their life, you felt like it was so terrible. You'd be like, oh, I just need to get out of here. I need to get away. But I thought it was a song that would set this tone a little bit for the mood, because I think that song really made you empathetic to the plight of what people were going through. As you all know, Tracy Chapman, she wasn't facing homelessness at the time, but she wrote that song about being a homeless teenager. So it is my great pleasure and honor to not only introduce Jeremiah to Glow Nation, but also to announce and introduce that he will be one of the guests at our VIP exclusive Books and Bites brunch on Wednesday, May 19th, here in Atlanta, Georgia, for Claim Malcolm X Day. So without further ado, let me bring Brother Jeremiah to the stage.
Hey, hey, hey.
Hey, 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 beautiful. Look at you all bow tied up.
Oh yeah, it's bow tie season right here. Can you see me good? Am I
I
am I
see it.
audience?
I love it. Yeah, I can see it. It's beautiful.
Okay, okay, cool.
And the hair is popping as well. Beautiful. Thank you again so much for just taking some time out of your day, out of your afternoon, and greeting and being a part of this conversation, because it's absolutely so important. It's so important. And you know, people are really, they're already engaged in the chat, and they're talking about how Lizzo was sleeping in her car until that song blew up. I remember that story. Black Love is here. We want to say hello to Cooking with Sir Senior. Naima Saunders is here. She's a mother. You know, I knew that this was going to be a very well attended live because it is such a hot topic, Jeremiah. So what I do, just to let you know, to give you a little bit of a little bit of a little bit of background or a little bit of heads up, so to speak. What I usually do when there's a guest on what's going on, my glowers know, Glow Nation knows that I let you have the spotlight. The guest has the spotlight. You talk to the, you can speak to the audience, read the room, speak to the audience. I am not abandoning you. I just cam off and go down so that you can have the complete spotlight. I'm in the chat. I'm making sure that we're engaging in the chat, and I'm making sure that I'm catching any questions. So you'll see them posted if people have questions as you're talking. And then what happens is I'll come back on and we'll continue the conversation. But it is mi casa su casa, mi channel, su channel. This is your platform, your stage. I'm gonna, cam off and come down, and we are shining that light on you. So, woo. So we definitely are. We're loving to hearing about what's going on with Hands Off.
Okay, cool. Well, so I'll start with this, right? So 2.5 years ago, uh, going on 3 years ago, I sat in a courtroom and I listened as a 12 and a 15-year-old girl documented their experiences of sexual assault at the hands of their stepfather. Now, before we really get into that, I was just like anybody else, right? So if you watching this and you thinking, well, dang, I'm just out here living. I was the same exact way. I was working in sales. I was young. I was making good money. I wasn't studying about no court case. I was trying to stay as far away from the court system as I can. I tried to pretend to be sick, you know what I mean? I was trying to say religious expectations was why I couldn't be a part of it. All of those different things. But as fate would have it, I ended up being selected and I sat on the jury and I listened as a 12 and a 15-year-old girl documented their experience of sexual assault at the hands of their stepfather. And I believe truly that, this individual, after seeing photographs, after watching video, after listening to testimony, after going through the entire process, at the end of 7 days, I really do. We got a unanimous guilty verdict. We're going to put this guy in jail. The justice system works. Woo! Justice prevails. But what happened was we end up having 6 guilty votes and 6 not guilty votes. So we ended in a hung jury and this individual walked. So just like myself, I'm sure many of you are asking, well, what happened? What went wrong? How did we go from feeling real confident, doing the happy dance and saying, yeah, this guy's guilty, let's put him behind bars, to 6 people saying, well, I don't know. And 6 people saying, nah, y'all crazy. He definitely did it. The last day of the trial, those young ladies got on the stage and they said that they did not know the man. Now, I want to paint the picture for you for just a moment, and I'm not gonna be long, but I just want to paint this picture for you. This individual was someone that took these girls to school. Their stepfather was engaged to their mother, their biological mother, whom had 2 children younger than they with this individual. They had lived in his home for several years, heavily involved in their life. And so one must begin to ask the question that I asked after that court case fell apart and I left so angry and I was distraught. I was disheveled. I wanted to fight. I'm not going to lie to you. I ain't going to hold you for 1.25 seconds. I wanted to see my buddy when we walked out that courtroom. But I had a lot of questions. I said, well, how did we get to where we were at? And it was one particular thing that kept playing in my mind during that court case that those 2 young ladies said. They said, I just want things to go back to the way they were. And they said, I don't know the man. Nothing happened. And those thoughts kept playing in my head over and over and over and over and over again. And so I spent the last 3 years becoming a sexual assault advocate, getting first aid certified, CPR certified, training, learning, going through Georgia's National Network to End Sexual Assault and becoming trained through their program, reading psychology, taking sociology, psychology classes, understanding how does the human brain work. And what I realize is that when an individual comes face to face with someone they've been abusing, there's 4 different types of trauma responses. We're taught about fight, freeze. We're taught about those, right? We say, oh, they're going to either fight or they're going to freeze. But a lot of times what actually happens is an individual will regret. They will regress back and they'll say, this never happened, or I didn't see it, or I don't know anything, because their brain is blocking out the trauma. So what I didn't know on March 16, 2018, which was the last day of that court case where we held this individual's life in our hand, we held a verdict in our hand. What I didn't know was all the things I know about trauma and sexual assault and sexual abuse and how often it happens, and that 28 million women a year are affected by sexual assault, or that 1 out of every 6 women are affected by sexual assault. I never knew that every 73 seconds an American is sexually assaulted. So right now, we've 16 minutes into this live. If I waited to 17 minutes and just about, what's that? 73 minus 60, that's 13. So if I waited a minute and 13 seconds longer into this live stream, someone has been sexually assaulted. What I did not realize is that most women who experience sexual assault, 30% to be exact, experience the same level of PTSD, which is post-traumatic stress disorder. They experience the same level as individuals who've been through combat training, who've been through war, who've been having bombs thrown at them, lives attacked. What I did not know that at that time was that the overall cost, lifetime cost estimated for most individuals to go through therapy and try to regain some sense of normalcy in their life is close to $100,000 or better. What I did not know is that when they really said, I don't know this man, I just want to go back to how things were, they were really saying that I'm just tired. I'm tired of fighting. I'm tired of telling this story. I'm tired of being re-victimized. And most importantly, I'm tired of having the last 3 years of my life be uprooted. Because in that time, they did everything they was asked to do, right? They told law enforcement, they reported, they spoke up, say something, you see something, say something. They did everything we asked women to do. But what they didn't account for, and what we as a society often never account for, is what about when they become homeless because they were living in their stepfather's home. And so when he was arrested, they had to go. So they became homeless for a time. Now imagine being in a middle school and a high school student, and not only have the cops came to your school because they needed to get certain things from you, and you didn't have a stable address, so the only place they could find you was at school. Imagine being a middle schooler and a high schooler and the cops coming to get you, and you're somewhat homeless, displaced. Your mother's working 15 plus hours a week. You've got 7 other brothers and sisters, 9 children in the home as a total. The family relationship is severed because the children that came into the picture with him are looking at you a certain way because prior to you coming, their life wasn't like this. Imagine the emotional, psychological, and the overall toll that these young ladies went through. So that's why I started the Hands Off Foundation. It's a nonprofit organization that focuses on helping women and children who've been affected by sexual assault. It's our mission to create a community that will not stand for 28 million women a year being affected by sexual assault. And what that means is we're serious and dedicated about literally creating a community. And when I say creating a community, I mean buying land, building a facility where women and children can come and live for 6 months, where they can have access to things that will help build them in their mind, body, and soul. They will live there, they will work there and generate income for themselves and have access to therapy all throughout that 6-month process. I like to say that the Hands Off Foundation is the bridge between advocacy and wellness. And what that means is we're not just an advocacy group. We're not going to just spit out numbers and give you the facts, because a lot of people know the facts. They know the numbers. They know how messed up things are in the world. And we're not just giving you therapy and saying, hey, everything's going to be okay. But what we are is that middle ground to say, look, we got to advocate and we've got to help support. And if we do both together, things will change. So I like I said, I ain't going to take up a whole lot of time. I hope that I could say something that could inspire you. Better yet, I would hope that I made you a little angry. I hope that I ruffled your feathers. I hope that I caused the hair on your arms to stand up, because what has happened is There's a theory that 98% of individuals have experienced some type of sexual assault in their lifetime. You can go look it up. I spit nothing but facts. 45, I believe, percent of the women who are in relationships experience some type of intimate partner violence, which means that not only are people being assaulted. See, we've told this story in society that sexual assault, rape, molestation, all those things only happens, when you've had a few too many drinks, your skirt was a little too short, had a little too much cleavage out, couldn't remember exactly where you parked, and so someone came and took advantage of you. But the reality of it is 56% of sexual assaults happen at the home or in close proximity to where someone works, which means most sexual assaults are happening by people work around, be around, and love. See, people don't like to have this conversation because no one wants to think that their coach, their pastor, their minister, their a co-worker, their associate, their best friend is someone who would take advantage of them. But I say that to say that we have to be on notice. We have to realize when I said 45% of women experience some type of intimate partner violence, that means that even now that you found the person you think that you love or you in a relationship, that's your boo thing. Y'all got it going on, right? Yeah, no. See, we don't talk about what does that look like. What happens when you're in a relationship with an individual that's taking advantage of you sexually? We don't talk about that. So I ask that we come together. I ask that you all become a part of the community, whether that's virtually, whether that's physically. But I ask that you become a part, because what I have realized is we want everything from women. We ask everything from women. We beg of everything from women, but we do not protect, provide, and show them that we value them in our community. And some people say, well, you just bashing men. No. I'm not bashing men because I'm a man. But what I am saying is that we have to hold each other accountable. See, if you look at what they call the pyramid, the sexual assault pyramid, there's levels, right? And it starts with having that conversation about consent. It starts with understanding that there are a lot of different things we do that are just absolutely downright disrespectful, but they lead to more aggressive forms. See, we talk about the violent crimes. We talk about when somebody gets raped. We talk about when someone's sexually assaulted. But we don't really talk about that catcalling that your homeboy keep doing when y'all riding around, and he keep letting the window down and yelling at a woman, and she say, no, I'm good, thank you, leave me alone. Then he proceeds to cuss her out, call her all kinds of names. Oh, man. We don't talk about that. We don't talk about those locker room talk where we degrade and just and verbally assault women. It's crazy. We don't talk about any of that. But those types of actions and behaviors then lead to further things that progress. Inappropriate touching at work, inappropriate comments and gestures. All of these things are non-physical acts that lead to physical violence. It was just a lady that was shot the other day. She was out with her, I believe it was either her boyfriend or her fiance. They were out riding the little little scooters. Guy says, hey, boo, or whatever he shouted out to her, trying to holler at her. She said, no, I'm good. I'm with my man. Thanks. I don't need all that. He proceeds to persist. The lady's man that was with her jumps in and say, hey, bro, we already told you we good on all that. Move on along. He comes back and then shoots the woman. See, these are the kind of things that we face. And I don't say any of this to frighten you or do any of those things. What I really say is I hope that you will have the same reaction that I had, which is that I know the kind of character of an individual I am. And if we band together other individuals like ourselves, I do believe we are stronger than the people that commit these types of crimes. But it's going to take all of us. It's going to take us getting together and saying, we will not stand as a community. We will not stand for 28 million women a year being affected by sexual assault. People will say, well, do you have any daughters? And I tell them the exact same thing every single time. I don't have to have daughters to be concerned about women. My mama was a woman. My wife is a woman. My aunts are women. My nieces are women. Better yet, they don't have to have any relationship with me other than the fact that they are a woman walking this earth and they are the givers of life. James Brown, one of my favorite artists, used to say, it's a man's world, but it's nothing without a woman. Listen, my name is Jeremiah Woods. I'm the executive director of the Hands Off Foundation, and I really appreciate the opportunity to speak to you all. I see a couple of people had commented in the chat. So I definitely would love to jump into the comments, answer questions, open it up. I need y'all to ask me questions. Let's get engaged. Let's lock in. Let's talk. I don't want to stand up here and lecture. I'm a man of the people at heart, so I wanna be involved in what y'all talking about. What's happening? Where we at? Let's get it.
Yes, let's get it. You know what, Jeremiah? This is what I loved about you and the energy. And I love that that's what you just said. You're not let me sit up there and lecture, but it's let's have a conversation because it really
Yeah,
does start that it starts there with being just open, with being honest, with having an honest conversation. So, first of all, I want to say this. Was there any way that you were able to follow up with the young ladies and see what happened or what was there any kind of way that you were able to follow up and get updates about what was going on in their lives as they grew, because you said they were teens and they have been experiencing this for a couple of years, so they're in
yeah,
their 20s now, maybe being mothers themselves, which is really where the dysfunction and the trauma plays out, because
yeah.
hurt people, you know so yeah, I would personally love to know that, and then we'll get into some of the other questions that I saw coming through the chat, but I would love to know that.
Yeah, I reached back out to the district attorney that was prosecuting the case. Unfortunately, she had not heard from the family. Last she heard, they had not taken advantage of the court mandated free therapy that they had were given access to. Um, but she had not been able to get in contact with the family. And people will say, well, obviously it wasn't that bad because they didn't take advantage of the free therapy. But what I've come to find out, and this is why what we're doing at the organization is so important to be able to live, work, and grow, is that it doesn't matter if I give you all the free therapy in the world. If you don't have a way to get there, or if you don't have a safe place to come back to once you leave therapy, it won't be beneficial. And so I don't know what all is going on. I really wish I did. I don't even remember the two young ladies' name, to be honest. Um, but I do remember. I remember the case. There's a quote that I love that says, "People will forget what you did, but they'll never forget how you made them feel." And so the way I felt going through the case was something that I can't let go of. And so I'm not sure what happened to those two specific young ladies, but last I talked to the district attorney, they hadn't been able to make contact with them. So I'm assuming they probably just remove themselves completely away from the area, or from contact, change numbers, which is often something that survivors do. They just get away. They got to get away, whatever that may look like. So that's all I really know about what happened with that, as far as recent updates.
You know what? You're absolutely right, Jeremiah. I didn't even ask this question last week when we met, but this is obviously your superhero power. But what is your day to day? Like, what is your field? What's your career field?
I do this full time. So I previously, I was working in sales. So I mentioned that earlier when I was speaking. Like, I worked in sales. I was a sales business account manager, retail sales
Hmm.
associate. Like, I've always been in sales or customer service. I've always loved sales, actually, to be honest. I got a love hate relationship with it because it's real up and down. But I was doing that, and it's funny. I'm glad you asked about it. So let's talk about being pushed into your purpose real quick, right?
Come
So
on.
at the time when um I was launching this organization, like I said, it took almost 2.5 years because I was trying to go the entrepreneur route of, hey, let's make a product. I was attacking it from the wrong angle, right? Which is what most people do. So my first thought was, let's make a purse, and in that purse will have pepper spray. It'll have a tracking locator or a tracker, so that we can find these women, something happens to them, all these different things. And what I realized is I was being tone deaf, because what I was doing was I was continuing this notion that it's the women's responsibility to not get assaulted, when in reality it's just rapists and people who commit these acts of violence and these sexual crimes. It's their job to just not assault people. And so I had to go back and retool my whole mind, right? I had to go back and become a whole different person. And while I was in the process of figuring that out, this was right when Corona first started to kick off. They came in and laid my whole department off. And it's funny, I'm always the
Mm.
kind of person, I look for like little signs and things to say, like, okay, keep going in this direction or that direction. And I took that as a sign, like, I was a top sales performer. I was bringing in money. You know what I mean? So it wasn't a reason why, even if you were gonna let go of the whole department, you would let go of me. I'm a top performer. I get it done. And so I took that as a sign, like, okay, you can't get fired from your own organization. You can in theory, but you can't. And so that's what led me into this. I do this full time. We locked and loaded.
Come on. I love that. And you're so right. And I love that phrase, pushed into your purpose. Something similar happened to me. Where when we met and what I spoke on was being, I was a councilwoman. And I remember about a year into being a councilwoman, I have a spiritual advisor. And if y'all don't have one, you better get one because I'm telling you, they're the best thing to have, like your own personal Iyamla type thing. And she just told me we were out at the pool one day. She just said, you know what, Courtney, your life isn't here. Like, you're not
Mm-hmm.
gonna move forward here. And I was like looking at her like, who are you talking to? Like, I'm sitting in the middle of this $2,000 a month, nice little condo apartment, poolside. We just got through having a nice little lunch. What do you mean this? I'm not like I'm living my best life. What do you mean I'm not gonna do what I'm supposed to be doing here? I'm like, I'm
Right.
a councilwoman. My children are, like, what do you mean? And she was like, it's not here. She told me that. And then COVID hit, just all roads led back to Atlanta. And I literally told God, I said, all right, God, when I make this move, I don't want to do nothing with politics. That's what I said. That's what I said. That's what I said. And within 2 weeks of me being back here in Atlanta, I met someone just off of the whim. Didn't know her, never met her. And she told me, God told me that you're supposed to be my campaign director. She was running for county commissioner.
Mm.
And with that, I signed on and signed on for that role. And we were not successful in winning, but since being back, and even with having that was within 2 weeks of me being back in Atlanta. But I now people are continuing to connect me to all of these kind of politically, charged events and that sort of thing. And so, I love that phrase, and that just made me think of exactly my own. Another question came up. We were, chatting a while. We were having that last exchange in regards to they want to know, where is your center going to be located? Like, we know it's here in Atlanta, but where exactly in Atlanta are you looking at as far as the land?
Yeah, so we're looking further south, going toward the Macon, Albany area. There's a lot of land out there. We're actually negotiating on the property right now. And
Oh,
so
nice.
if you are in any type of space to, like, anything about land surveying, clearing off land, building, construction, commercial real estate, any of those things, I
Development.
love for people.
Yeah,
Anything in development space, love for you to reach
right.
out. That's where we're looking to be at now. What I will say is, Georgia. I was born and raised in Atlanta. I'm an ATL baby. So anywhere in Georgia is free game if the opportunity presents itself and it makes sense for the organization. Because what I understand is this is not a city issue. This is not a county issue. This is a national issue. Really, it's a global issue, but right now we're focusing nationally and regionally to address this issue because Georgia is, like you said, it's the leading place for sex trafficking. 6,000 plus Black women
For
went missing.
youth. For youth. And the reason why that's such a big, the reason why, and not to cut you off, but again, the reason why that's so huge is because we know that and if it's in Atlanta, we're talking about Black youth. You know, it's a high number
Right.
in Ohio and Wisconsin, interestingly enough, but we know what they're talking about when they say Ohio, Wisconsin. But when you
Right.
say Atlanta, we know what they're talking about. We know who they're talking to. You know who those victims are when it's
Right.
Atlanta. These are our cousins, these are our daughters, these are our friends, these are our, and even with that, they were doing a study when it was like a couple of things going on like 2 years ago when the white vans were kidnapping girls and picking them up and that sort of thing, and it was happening in all of these counties over here, right? And
Yeah.
they were saying that many times the situation, these young ladies were set up by friends in their schools. They would identify, they would tell the guys, this person works at this job, she gets off at this time, nobody picks her up. and they were linking these back to young ladies that were setting other young ladies up. And that's what's scary to me. That's what's scary to me. We're not talking about not being able to trust somebody because they're gonna borrow your favorite pair of jeans and not turn them back. But we're
Right.
talking about somebody that for a handbag, for some bundles, they're pimping their friends out. They're setting their friends up to be trafficked in a hotel, drugged and trafficked in a hotel. So it's so much, but continue on with your thought. But it's so much when that statement, when those numbers hit, because those numbers, they show a real reality, they show a real impact. So continue on, because like I said, when those numbers hit, we realize who we're talking to. We're talking to us.
Yeah.
We ain't talking, we ain't talking to no randoms, people on TV that we're not going to see and we're not going to know. We're talking to people that you see at your family reunion. The
Yeah.
chances are, like you said, one in every six, one
Hmm.
in every six. And then
Some stat,
and
some organizations even report 1 in every 5. So it really
yeah,
just
I was gonna say
depends.
1 in 4. That's what
Yeah.
that was our number from Miami. 1 in 4. 1 in 4, and
Hmm.
it was 1 in 4 by the time a person was 18. By the time a
Hmm.
person was 18, so it really is more of an issue than what we want to realize, or what we want to digest. Is really more of an issue. Now, this is something that I do want to talk about, and this is where, like I said again, the conversations, we gonna get real. We glow up. When you glow up, when you expose things, it's like y'all know what I mean, and I'm gonna be the first to say it. When you turn on that light and those little things start running, okay, we're going to expose. That's what glowing up is. We have to expose those things in order to be accountable.
Uh-huh.
um let's talk about it, Jeremiah, with why do we, and when I say we, I mean us, why
Uh-huh.
do we as a community, as a culture, as a society, why do we not why do we not go more aggressively at seeing these people prosecuted? I have my own thoughts, but I would love to hear yours, and I'm going on mute so I can just have you answer without worrying about any background noise or anything.
Um. So why do we as a community not go more aggressively on seeing these people prosecuted? Okay. So I would say that a big part of it is shame, fear, and a lot of it is generational. Don't forget, me and there's a YouTube channel called 1 6, but me and Taylor, so definitely, I'll address that just a moment in just a moment. What happens is, a lot of times there's this disdain, right? That I went through it and I made it through, so can you. Or the lack of belief, right? A lot of people we like to say that we gonna ride for hours and we going 10 toes down and we lock and load and all this, but a lot of people when the dust settles are not riding behind their people like they say they are. And but even more so, it a lot of it is fear, to be honest, right? Fear of the justice system, fear of going through that process. And a lot of people are not in the position to have their lives uprooted for the 6 months, year, 2 years, 3 years that it may take. Just excuse me, this pollen is killing me, but to see justice through. So I think that's a big. You froze up on me. What did you say?
Oh, I'm still froze. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Yeah.
Oh, I was just saying, yeah, the same. My kids, I said, we come out and it's like it's been raining pollen, and my children are very, my daughter more so than my son, but they're very, as you saw, even Saturday, even at Friday, even though we were spread out, they keep their mask on because yeah, it's like raining pollen here. I said I didn't know it was
Look,
going to get like this. Yeah,
I was trying my
yeah.
hardest to stay dedicated to answering that question, but I was just like, I'm slowly dying over here.
No, well, go ahead. No, but you're right. But you're right. I love what you said too. You said we locked and loaded, we ride and die, let it happen to us. And then what happened with R. Kelly? When this divided, when I tell you my daughter's hairdresser was on Facebook saying those girls knew what they were doing. And mind you, my daughter at the time was 11 and 12 going to her. And she was talking about 12-year-old girls knowing what they doing. I said, you know, and I told her, I said, I won't be back to your shop. That's crazy. That, you
Right.
know, this is, you can say this and you're doing girls' hair. How do 11 and 12-year-old girls know that they're going to be getting involved with a sex harem? Like, they can't fathom that, you know? But go on, because I love that, because you're speaking some real. We got to have these real conversations and really be accountable, you know. And even if you say things like I said, it's even better, in my opinion, and I don't know if anybody agrees with me, and I understand if you don't, but in my opinion, it's better to me for someone to say the reason why I did it is because I was, you know, I was like you said, I think it's some shame there. People don't want to say, well, I know when I was, you know, 14, I was dating this 19-year-old, and so I didn't think nothing of it when this happened. It's almost better for that. But to me personally, but when I hear people just say flat out, it's nothing, they don't believe it, or it's, you know, they just dismiss it, that to me is so harmful. It's so harmful. Like, if anything, say why you don't, but don't just dismiss what this child is saying. Don't just dismiss what this person is saying. So that's what I'm gonna say. I'm going back on mute.
Yeah, I mean, no, it's a conversation. So you good. I would say that we just don't know a lot. We do. It's a lot we don't know about trauma, about generational trauma, about sexual assault, about sexual harassment, about sexual abuse. It's a lot we don't know, and so because we don't know, a lot of the decisions, reactions, and emotions that we proceed to give out are just inaccurate, right? They're ignorant, and it's based on not knowing, right? And I was in that same category. I had no clue. A lot of the things that I know now, I knew nothing about these things when I was sitting on the jury, right? Listening to a case that was about these very things. And I knew none of this. And I would say that the average individual, I believe the average American has the education of at a fifth grade level or something of that nature. And I don't want to misquote it, but I believe it's around in that area. Fourth, fifth, yeah. So most of the adults in America, if we getting just right down to educational level, are really not even in a position, quite frankly, to deal with a lot of the things that need to be dealt with, because it's just not the conversation that we're having. It's not the direction that we're being pushed as a people. And I think that the difference too between a lot of the things that people say, well, I did this growing up, or this happened to me and it wasn't a big deal then, is understanding of how it affected you. And better yet, understanding that consent is not something you can just give to somebody or take away from somebody. It's that individual's, it's their consent to give or take. So just because you may be cool with this older gentleman feeling on you, or whatever the case may be, that's you. If that's the consent that you've given people and the access you've given people to your life, you can't then say that that's okay or acceptable for anybody else, right? So I think we have to remember that, and keep that in our minds, right? And a lot of times when you go back, a lot of people will say, well, I didn't even realize I had experienced some type of sexual assault, because the only thing we talk about again is what, um, rape, molestation. That's it. You may hear somebody say sexual harassment, but most people are not speaking about all the different variant levels. So I can only speak for myself, but I see it as individual needs of how we feel, think about our own selves. I would even, I mean, I would lean into that as well, right? So there definitely has to be an elevated level of self care, self love, and overall dedication to how you see yourself. So for me, I see myself as a God. That ain't got nothing to do with nobody else. What you believe, don't believe. I ain't pushing nothing on you. I'm just saying how I see myself. And so as seeing myself that way, I could not then know that someone is being taken advantage of within my presence, and know that I have the ability to act and not do it. But that's how I see myself. That's how I operate. And there are a lot of people that don't necessarily operate that way. But I think that a lot of people just, they don't know. They're scared. They don't know what to do. And so what do most people do when they're scared, don't know what to do? They either become very angry and aggressive, or they become very recluse and just pull back away from it. So you say, oh yeah, Jeremiah, man, I got something to tell you, bro. Um, I was sexually assaulted by so and so. Somebody we both know, yada 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 happened, this, that, and the third. Their first response from most people is, "Oh man, wow, woo." You, I mean, did it really? I mean, I ain't trying to. I mean, I don't know, but did it happen just like y'all was y'all drinking, or like how that happened? What was it? Because mentally they're not ready to respond to that, and so then that leads to more damage being done, re-victimization happens, um and it's just so much that we don't know about it, right? So we often, a lot of the behaviors that we think come from somebody lying, those are the exact opposite when you're talking about somebody who's been sexually assaulted and they're dealing with that level of trauma. So I may be very standoffish. My eyes may bounce back and forth when I'm telling you the story. I may be very jumpy. All of the things that would normally say, "Oh, this person's lying," are the very things that may be a telltale sign to say, "Oh no, this person really did go through something extremely traumatic." Um, but again, those are the conversations that we have to have. Women can blame young girls by calling them fast. Black girls don't get to blossom as sexual and feminine beings without being covered in blame. Yeah, I totally agree. And I think that there is a extreme bias when it comes to how we talk about women and girls, and how their sexual development happens versus men. I think that it's crazy that men get patted on the back for getting notches in their belt. The more women you sleep with, the better. But the women that you're sleeping with are then hoes. I ain't never understood that. So she a hoe, but you not? How that work? Ugh. Or better yet, if we go back to the beginning part where the individual was saying it's about how they see themselves. So if you think that she's all these low down dirty things, but you lay down with her, then what does that make you? See, a lot of people don't necessarily like to have conversations with me because I'm keeping it all the way true. Like, I'm coming at you the way that we used to check individuals. You can't say she all of these things, but you sleeping with her. You got a baby by her. So clearly she wasn't that bad. She wasn't that bad. Cause you clearly put your life in her hands. You decided that trip was a trip you was willing to take. But it's the woman's fault. You know how that goes.
You know, and so I love it. I love it, love it, love it. Y'all make sure y'all please um make sure you follow his organization. He's on Instagram as well. That is hands off. He is on Instagram. Please make sure you follow Jeremiah, because these are the conversations. And you know what, Jeremiah, what you said is so key. We do need to have these conversations, but guess what? They need to be led by more men like yourself, men that are like what you said, keeping it trill, men that are married, men that, whether, like you said, whether you're a father or not, you came from a mother. That's what I think often confuses and frustrates me, that men, some men take the approach that uh the women are not worthy of that type of advocacy outside of their very mother. And I'm like, according to, like, let's keep it real, like you said, let's keep it all the way real. According to your father, your mom is, not even worthy in a lot of our community and our cultures, because of the fact that these are single homes, single family homes, or divided homes. And so um they how do we get more men? So that's my question there. How do we get more men having these very on point conversations? Because I can remember telling a couple of my cousins early on in college, we were having a discussion kind of like this, and I said, well, it's not like you have two penises, so how you claiming, you know this person is not good for nothing but sexing, but you have a whole girlfriend that you loving on. I said, well, you ain't got two. I ain't use the word penises. I said, you ain't got two of those. So how you just decide talking about, oh, well, you not making love, or you not giving the love to this other girl because she not worthy of that, but your girlfriend slash who you claim who all your wifey, but it's not your wife. That's who you giving your love to. I said, you only got one of those. So unless you doing halfway, or unless you like, what is that? What is that? So how can we get more men having these conversations, as opposed to, because when females have these conversations, hey, brother Bakari, welcome, welcome. Because when females are having these conversations, we come off, some of us, I won't say all, but I say it a lot of times, it comes off as though we are being um we're being unrealistic. I've heard that, we're not telling the whole story. We are being we're being extra or dramatic. How do we get more men having these conversations?
The first word that comes to my mind is accountability, and that's accountability from men and accountability from women, right? So, um, for men, it's about holding other men accountable. It's about starting that conversation, being that guy. Right now, I'm that guy. So when any of my friends call my phone, they already know what I'm on. This the type of conversation we having. We kicking back, we watching the game, you drinking whatever your beverage of choice may be. We having this conversation at some point throughout the night. It's definitely gonna be had. Um, and I think it takes more men being willing to stand on their 10 toes and just do just that. Had a conversation. And then also be willing and ready. If you lose a couple of so-called friends or whatever, be okay with that. Cause if this ain't a conversation you want to have, then you can't be in my house. You can't be associated with me if it ain't a conversation you willing to have. Or at least listen and understand and take in the information I'm giving you. Because it for me, and here's what I love about when you speak facts and you walk in truth, right? There is nothing that you could say to me that would justify why you would not want to be a part of this movement, right? Because this isn't a bash men movement. This isn't a bash women movement. This is the facts. This is the reported numbers. We ain't talking about feelings. We ain't talking about hypotheticals. We ain't talking about theories. We talking about the reported numbers. First thing people say is, well, what about the women that's lied? We got to hold them accountable too. I am a firm believer, and this is me, that if you are found to be lying on an individual that you've accused of an assault, and it is found that it is a lie based on facts and evidence, you should get time the same way they would have gotten time for the assault. A lot of people don't like to feel me on that, but the reality of it is we've got to get back to a place where we're holding people accountable for their actions. In science, they say every action has an opposite or equal reaction. I believe that's how it goes. The point being is everything you do has a consequence of some sort. And so it's my belief, if you're accusing somebody of sexually assaulting you and it is proven based on the evidence and the facts at hand that that is not what happened or that is not the case, then you should receive some type of punishment the same way they in theory would receive a punishment had they actually done it to you. Right? So when you ask how do we get more men involved, accountability. Saying, listen, one thing I do know about men, wherever the women is at, generally, men gonna follow. So I guarantee you, more women say, "Hey, check this out. Uh, them late night trips you like to make finna be cut off unless you go into this seminar with me. That apple pie you like to eat every Wednesday night finna be cut off unless you this type of man. Cause one thing I do know, what women celebrate, men will go become the biggest and baddest at. Part of the reason that athletics is so big, like the attention they get. So we have to make, like I like to say, we have to make purpose popular, right? We have to make it popular to be the kind of individual. When I was growing up, I wanted to be a Renaissance man. That means you had to be well read, well spoken, have to be athletic. You have to have all of these things to be what they call a Renaissance man. I ain't saying you got to go ahead that as your life goal, but what I am saying is it is unacceptable in my mind to be anything less than the best version of yourself. And when we start holding people to that same level of accountability day in and day out, one or two things gonna happen. You're gonna see a mass split, which is gonna be the people that's just not feeling that, and they're gonna go off and do their thing and be mediocre or whatever. And then you're gonna have the individuals that say, okay, you know what? I can get with that message. I may not be all the way together, but I can get with that message. Okay, and then I tie it back into what you're doing with Malcolm X Day, right? When Brother Malcolm first started, he wasn't who he was as we know him when he passed or when he was assassinated, right? It was a journey. So all I'm saying is be accountable enough to start the journey. I'm not coming at you for what you've done in the past. I'm saying, look at your past actions and see how can we be better? How can I be better? That's what the first thing I did when I started taking these trainings was I went and talked to my wife. I said, hey, check this out. Have I ever made you feel like you had to have sex with me? Like, I know we married and like, that's what we want to do or whatever, but Like, did you feel forced or coerced? Like it wasn't a like your consent wasn't freely given? If so, I apologize. I'm learning now. These are things that I can be better at. I can do this better. That's all it takes. Most times, most survivors ain't even necessarily looking for somebody to go be incarcerated for the next 30 years of their life. They just want some kind of vindication that, yeah, like you did do me dirty. Like, just admit it. Be honest about it. You did do me dirty. It really screwed me over. And we can move forward. But the problem is nobody want to have no accountability. Nobody want to keep it trill and say, you know what? Even if it wasn't my intent, I recognize that it may have made you feel this way or that it may have affected you in this way. I'm sorry. Can we be better? It don't take much. It really don't. People make it hard. People make it complex. But I'm gonna get off my soapbox because I get fired up. So
No, I like it fired up, and I think that I mean, you're hitting the nail on the head. You absolutely are, because that's what it is. Like, it's so simple to just say I apologize if I made you feel that way. And you know what I found, that sometimes people, you can tell when someone has been really hurt, Jeremiah, when they don't even want to hear an apology. And I say, wow, this is a situation where this don't have nothing to do with me. They've been looking for an apology from somebody else that ain't me, because if I say I'm sorry, they'd be like, I don't want to hear no sorry and da 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 da. And I'm like, wow, especially if you ain't never heard it from me, that's because they've been looking for a sorry from someone else. Iyanla just had a wonderful show this morning about being accountable and apologizing.
look at
And
that.
I think that's an amazing gesture. You said that you made with your wife, not no girlfriend, not no baby mama, not someone back when, but your wife. That's key right there. And as we're on the subject, please let's talk a little about that as well. Um, I'm sure you're aware and you've seen the issues or some of the conversations, the discussions, the debates that are going on right now between the women and men of our communities. What are your thoughts in those conversations, and how this is a direct reflection of the challenges within your work and your efforts?
Give it to me one more time so I can make sure I understand before I answer.
Yes. So there seems to be a lot of toxicity, a lot of animosity between black men and black women in our community and in our culture.
Right.
How do you think that relationship between our community into the genders, how do you think that is affecting, or how do you think is that creating challenges within your work, with your advocacy and activism work? Do you
Yeah.
see that more? Okay,
One hundred
let's.
percent.
Ooh, you said it quick. Let's talk about it.
So what I've noticed, right, is there is a lot of animosity for things that neither myself or yourself, and when I say myself or yourself, I mean man and woman. If that's, I'm assuming that's how we both identify, but um, that we did not directly do. Say that again.
I was on mute, but I said no. I'm no cis over here. I'm a woman. I'm a sis woman. Yes, no cis. I'm woman.
I feel
Absolutely.
it.
Thank you.
uh, 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 what I'm saying is that a lot of the issues that we experience, and when we're talking about us as a culture now, we're talking about black folks at this particular moment, or copper colored people, or indigenous American, or original descendants of slaves, whichever one of them terms you want to go with. I'm talking about us right now. What we have to be able to recognize, take account for, and accept is there are a lot of things that have happened in the past that we allowed to continue to progress, that is generational trauma. And because we have not addressed it, and we don't want to hold ourselves accountable for it, we cannot move forward. Case in point, I hear a lot of brothers say, oh, I had a homeboy back in 6th grade. This girl accused him of doing this. He like to went to jail behind that. He ain't even touched that girl. So now every woman that you come encounter with is a liar. Okay, all right, okay. Or on the other side, I hear women say, well, you know, men gonna be men, so I just know he probably did something to her because men have done things to me. Okay, okay. Statements like that, or I love this narrative here that all black women are angry and uptight and this, that, and the third. Okay, not true. What it is there's so many things we haven't addressed and unpacked that you hear it come out. You can hear it in the thought processes of how we view ourselves as a people. And that can be very hindering when you're talking about advocating for people who've gone through scenarios that people love to act like don't exist. This is why I dyed my hair, right? You got one half of the world that recognizes that it's a problem, it's something we could do, we need to do something about it, these things need to be addressed in our society. And you got the other side is like, nah, ain't I wrong? All them women lying. Every last one of them, all 28 million of them, all of them lying. So when you say has it affected my work? Yeah, because it's this theoretical rift that, oh, it's men against women. No, 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 no. It's not men against women. It ain't women against men. What it is sexual predators against those who want to protect those who are being preyed upon. That's it. It ain't no man against woman, woman against man. No, 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 no. What it is men and women who are banding together, creating a community, saying we're not going to tolerate those individuals who have decided they don't want to be a part of the community because they rather be sexual predators and sexual deviants and cause mischief and harm in our communities. But we have to get to a point where we're thinking like that. We have to get to a point where we realize a lot of things are bigger than just us. You may have ran into, let's just say, on average, let's say you meet 100 women a week, and out of them 100 women, 90 of them had a bad attitude. And the first thing we'll holler is, oh, black women is. Well, to attribute someone's attitude to the color of their skin is the most illogical thing I've ever seen in my entire life. You could, let's just say them 90 out of 100 women you ran into that week, how do you know, with the numbers as they stand, 1 out of every 6, 28 million women a year, how do you know that most of them weren't sexually assaulted or had some type of sexual violence attempted on them in their lifetime? And you just may be the type of individual that looks, smells, or acts or has the same mannerism as the person that assaulted them. And so their attitude and their behaviors and their mannerisms had nothing to do with you personally, but everything to do with what they remembered about the things that have happened to them. How do you know that those men that you ran into that you say are all no good, you just associate with those type of individuals because you're wired a certain way, you like a certain type of thing? And so the men you're saying are no good are really just the same man in different bodies because they have the same traits, the same attributes, the same behaviors, the same belief systems. They just look different. And so you keep attracting or keep engaging yourself with the same man but in different bodies. But we're not thinking like that. So short answer, yes, it has affected the work.
Um, something else that you mentioned in the scope of the trial that stuck out to me, because I don't know if you realized it or not, but I also mentioned a connection point when I gave, my speech about reparations and that sort of thing. It was the fact that homelessness brings on another set of these issues, and we can there was a wonderful study done, and I don't say wonderful in regards that it was all this great news, but it was good information, because without this information we can't really understand or appreciate the tools that are needed to be able to
Right.
attack this whole problem in a whole. But there was a wonderful study that was done that was linking evictions and homelessness with sexual abuse and child exploitation. And what you said was so spot on, Jeremiah, that I think that more of us need to be aware of and appreciative of that. A lot of times people, these children especially, are not going to tell on abusers if they don't have stable homes. if they don't have stable homes, and they know that their mom does not have just another place to go to, they're going to endure this abuse for years and years and years. And those Iyanla Fix My Life, this is her last season, and I'm saying for her last season she has really been coming with it, honey, because some of these stories and traumas, they break my heart, but they also hit very close to home. I personally have never experienced homelessness, but I have gone through an eviction. And in the type of uh, uh, stability that pulls away from children is something that, like I said, I never want to see that I never want to see my children just not have that security again. Like we never were homeless per se. We didn't do a shelter. We didn't have to sleep in the car or anything. But the fact of that, I'm coming home to this place every day, taking a bath in this place every day, taking a and so imagine that in my situation, it was just us, it wasn't, someone living there and whatnot. But imagine that this person, even though they're enduring abuse daily, this is the only home that they know. And to have that pulled from them. And so, because we get into these conversations of why didn't they tell?
Right.
Why, that's the first thing. And I always think, and I'm like, and they say this when they're saying children, and I know me as an adult, I faced sexual assault as an adult, and I didn't tell. So imagine a 9-year old, 10-year old, 7-year old facing this, and not being certain of how to have the conversation, how to make this, how to use their voice, so to speak, is a term that we continue to to encourage, or victims will know, or survivors will know. But they'll say, why did they tell? Or something should have been going on. Oh, their schoolwork didn't change, whatever. And I said, you know what, instead of us saying why didn't these things occur, think about what is going on in that person's life that nothing did change. Then the level of trauma really starts to weigh. The fact that this person was enduring this type of abuse, and they still kept up an A average, and they still made their extracurricular whatever, whatever, because all the time is not going to be, grades dropped, they stopped eating, they were malnutrition. Imagine they call it, it's a syndrome. You might know it better than me because, of course, with your advocacy, but it's a term, and with your studies, but it's a term when they call it, like, they put on another person, like they make it so that this is happening to someone else but not to them. Like, they develop a whole nother personality in order to cope. It's a coping mechanism, but they have a
Yeah.
term for it that is called something. But
Yeah. I'm not.
so right. So you know what I mean? So I think that what your advocacy is so incredibly significant. It's so important. I am everything that I can do to get you in front of more people. I'm going to do it. That we can do to support you and build you up. Like I said, I know a lot of people in here are already asking, how can they support and that sort of thing. So we're definitely going to make sure that before we close today, please drop all of your information, your Cash App, and I'll post it, I'll highlight it so it can stay up for a little bit, your contact information so people can reach out to you and talk with you privately. Because this is a very timely discussion, especially in the wake of right now. You know, um, like I shared on Friday, once this moratorium lifts, even though Derek Chauvin was found guilty, y'all, once this moratorium lifts in June, that's not going to stop the 1.4 million people from being evicted from homes. And you're talking about families, and you're talking about families that may be forced to go cohabitate with people that they know Uncle so and so like touching on little girls, but they don't have no other place to go. So when we talk about the work and what you're doing, Jeremiah, this is why it's so crucial and so critical that people like you are not just talking the talk, walking the walk in the field and doing the work. So go ahead and if you wouldn't mind, if you want to text it over to me or what have you, so I can put it in a banner for you, and we can make sure that people continue to be able to have contact and outreach with you and continue to support you, because everything that I can do, I'm going to. I also appreciate you mentioning um, about Malcolm X, because that's one of the reasons why I love him as well, that he was accountable. You know, he said, "Hey, this is where I came from. This is what I used to do. This is what I was about." But he was a living testimony to what can happen when you absolutely get pushed into your purpose. So definitely
Love.
drop your information. I'm going to make sure I list it, and I'm going to scroll because I've been talking so much. I'm going to scroll the chats and see if we missed anything. I'm going back on mute.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't trying to be rude. I was trying to pull up the information so I make sure I say it right. But you can text 770-874-1808. Again, that's 770-874-1808. And if you text the word teal, TEAL, text the word teal to 770-874-1808. It'll send you a link to our website, and you'll be able to make donations. You'll be able to read more about the organization. You'll be able to see what we're working on. You can get all that information by texting that link. So if you text TEAL, TEAL to 770-874-1808, you'll be able to see what we're working on. You'll be able to make a donation. You'll be able to do all of those different things. Um, and I believe somebody in the chat actually said it's dissociative identity disorder. Yes. And there's another one that we don't talk about too when we talk about why didn't people leave. Stockholm syndrome is another one. The easiest way that I tell people about that is if you are familiar with Batman, Joker, Harley Quinn, if I remember correctly, had Stockholm syndrome, which means even though I know you treat me bad and I know that the things you're doing are wrong, it is a reality that I've grown used to, and I at least know what to expect. So what happens is you grow an affinity or a love or a fondness for your abuser. And so sometimes when we say, well, why didn't people leave? Because they don't necessarily, while they know that the person is abusing them, they also see them as the same person that loved them, took care of them, treats them nice on certain holidays, these different things. And so what it is it's psychological warfare. And I tell people, they say, what's the worst type of abuse? And I say mental. And they say, why is that? I said, because mental is something you can't see, you can't track, you don't really know how to properly address it. Like if someone's punching you in the face, the first immediate thing is, okay, let's stop them from punching you in the face. But if they're controlling you just by looking at you or by the power of their mind because of things they put in your mind, it's a whole lot harder to break that, right? So please, you can text TEAL to 770-874-1808. Our website is www.handsofffoundation.org. So it's handsofffoundation.org. You can visit us there, and our social media is connected. If you go to the bottom of the page, I believe there's a link for Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, all of the above. But I really appreciate everybody taking the time to listen to me today and chiming in the chat. And if there's any more questions or anything that I can answer or anything that we didn't discuss or anything I need to go into more detail on, I would love to do that before I get out of here. But I really, really, really do appreciate y'all for tapping in with me and locking in because it is something that I think that you said the key when you were talking about Malcolm X is that he decided to make a change, right? I ain't telling you to go join the nation. I ain't telling you to go to the nearest church. I ain't telling you to do none of that. All I'm saying is make a decision. Make a decision to be different, to be better, to change what you're doing, and then go educate others. We love to say each one teach one, but when the time to educate comes about, everybody get choked on this spit. I'm done. I'm gonna leave y'all alone today. I'm gonna leave y'all alone. I'm gonna let y'all live. But yeah.
Don't let us live. Keep it right there. I think also too. You know what? I think also, we have to meet people where they're at, literally. And I think that a lot of times, some men, I don't want to say all. Let me qualify my statement, y'all. Do my eye roll. Some men even at the, they love adult entertainment. They love the strip clubs. I said next time when you get the lap dance from Santana, ask Santana how many times stepdaddy touched her, how many times she had to have a forced abortion. See how that conversation goes then,
Let's,
because a lot of times, a guy told me one time, nobody wants to know how the sausage is made. They just know it tastes good. Nobody wants to know how the sausage is made. Y'all want to know that the pig nuts got all screwed up, had to get, y'all don't want to hear none of that. But that's the fact. What
yeah.
makes it so that a woman wants to be up on that pole? Because I promise y'all, not all of these women up on that pole are giving y'all these lap dances, are having relations with y'all for these nominal amounts of money. Not all of them just desire to have this quote unquote fan club, just
Yeah.
love to dance so much they just didn't mind taking off their clothes to do it. Like, when you like you said, when you start having deep conversations, people, oh, she looked like she enjoying herself to me. You know what I mean? Oh my gosh. I said, but start asking some different questions.
Oh, can
Start
can I
asking some
can I
different
let me can I
questions,
tap in right there real quick, real quick? Um,
You better.
First
You
off, I
better.
don't know which one of the young ladies said that I remind her of Lorenz State, but I'm gonna tell you now. Best comment of the day. I'm just now. I saw that. I peeped that in the comment section.
You
But
do. You do. Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
but I want to address that right. That looked like they were enjoying it. Okay, so let me break down the body for you real quick.
Mhm. Mhm.
Okay,
Break
your
it down.
body is designed to do certain things doing certain activities. So some people may look like they're enjoying something, but not really be consenting to it or enjoying it. For example, I'm a man. If a woman does certain things to me, there are certain responses my body's gonna have. That does not mean I necessarily want her to do them. It works the same way for women. Just because you are forcing yourself on or into someone does not mean they want it. Their body may secrete certain
Enjoy it.
juices and it may flow. That's what the body's designed to do. The damage is being done mentally. It's the trauma of now you've confused the electrons, the neurons, and other respondents in the brain with pleasure and enjoyment and fear and agony. And so what happens is yeah, they may have been seemingly ready to go, hot to trot, because you were forcing yourself on them. But what happens is the next time that they try to be in a consensual, healthy relationship, they will struggle because now the brain can't differentiate, is this a pleasant experience that I should be happy and engaging in and releasing endorphins and ready to, engage? Or is this where I should be recluding, be fearful, pull back, and have a trauma response because now the lines have been blurred. I cannot stand when people say they look like they enjoyed it. What the fuck? What is that? What do you mean? How does someone look like? How do you quantify if consent was given based on how someone looks in a moment? People make fun of me because on the occasional times that I have been to the strip club, they say, "Man, you always making friends with the strippers," because we end up sitting down having like real life conversations, just chatting, locked in, enjoying just each other's coming, just talking about different things. And a lot of times you'll find out, like, even though they work in this profession, they get taken advantage of all the time because people in some way feel that your profession now quantifies me being able to have some type of control over you and your life. No, that is not how it works. That is not what happens there. And let's see. Okay, but let me get into this. Okay, Jeremiah, you're absolutely correct. Physical arousal does not mean you want. That's true. I get what you mean, but there might be a category that falls into it. Okay, so okay, I wanna jump on and see. Stimulated organs are just that. Stimulated organs are just that. Energy falls in line that though. Energy falls in line into that. Okay, so let's talk about consent for a second, right? Because this is a teachable or learning moment, right?
Correct.
Consent, when you're talking about sexual assault, consent can be given or taken at any moment. So let's just say me and a young lady or whoever, we hot and bothered, we kissing, touching, rubbing, feeling, oh man, it's going great. And then one of us says stop. Let's flip the script for a second, right? Because we always talking about what if the guy did something to the woman. Let's flip the script for a second. She feeling all alone. Me, she,
Right.
oh Jeremiah, you are so amazing. You smell so good. We going at, we living life, right?
You look like a Lariz Tate. You
Right,
looking
right. The
like
whole, I mean, like
Lariz.
it's going down. Like it's gonna be a whole situation. Okay, cool. And then I say, oh, hold up, Shawty, stop. You gotta chill. I ain't feeling it right now. Guess what? Consent was just taken away. So it don't matter what kind of energy, what kind of vibe, what we was doing 2 seconds before. None of that matters. Because once again, once consent leaves, and these are the kind of conversations we have to have with our children, we have to have in general. Once consent is gone, it's gone. You can
Correct.
take it and give it at any moment. And prior consent does not mean you have current consent. So just because I slept over at your house the last 3 nights and we did the do, don't mean that that fourth night you just automatically entitled to it. This is where the assault comes in. This is where the abuse comes in. This is where taking advantage of one comes in. Because what people don't understand is sexual assault crimes generally are never about the sex. It's about control. It's about being able to have power over someone else. It generally has very little to do with the actual sex act itself. That's why most serial rapists, a lot of times when you look, there's not a conclusive pattern between their victims because it's never really about the person that they're raping or the person they're molesting. It's about the ability to have control over another individual. But this is what I'm talking about. We don't know enough about sexual assault or sexual abuse to really have a real conversation, right? And this is not coming at nobody. This is me taking an opportunity to show in real time. These are the things we don't know because we're not taught it in school. We're not taught it in sex ed if your school or your organization or your county still does sex ed. We're not taught it when most people, the birds and the bees taught was, look, you need to wear a condom, don't catch an STD, and that's about it. We're not having real conversations about sexual emotional intelligence where you understand when consent has been taken away or when it's been given or when consent was coerced, because a lot of brothers get caught up with, well, she wanted me to do it, but did she want you to do it on her own regard, or did she want you to do it because she knew you were forcing for it to happen, which is completely different. Because coercion, if you look it up, is illegal. And if it can be proven that you force someone through coercion to
Right.
sleep with you, you will catch charges. These are the kind of conversations that we have to have, right? It's so important that we have these talks because this can get a lot of people tripped up. There are cases right now being tried where individuals say, well, we started doing stuff and I thought it was all consensual, right? But this goes back into developing relationships. Stop trying to get notches on your belt. Actually develop real relationships, connections with people where you both mutually respect each other and it's not about taking advantage of the other individual. Because sexual assault crimes are about control. I will say it 1,000 times over. It's about control. It's about being able to control somebody else. It's not necessarily about sex at all. Said let's we got the joint. Oh yeah, y'all turned in the chat. Hold on, let's see. Let me try to catch up here. You gotta love yourself more than you love anybody else. And I know it sounds unjust to think this way for we've been taught self this way. Okay. These are the sentences that all persons should be on. Facts. So let me say this: whose fault is it if they don't speak up and mentally feel robbed during sexual interaction? Women never catch charges for rape. That's not true. Women do get charged for rape. I preach communication, often dialogue, open dialogue. If women or man doesn't communicate it, and then they say we're not comfortable later, they are at fault respectfully, unless it's a pattern. Okay, so yes, it is both parties' responsibility to communicate. Let me because I want to make this very clear. I'm not attacking men or women. It is both parties' responsibility to effectively communicate. It is your responsibility individually to create an environment where people feel safe in communicating their truths. Because I can talk to somebody all day long, but if they feel that if I tell them no, they may try to kill me, or if they feel that if I tell them no, I may get shot at. And let's just be very clear for those who may have just joined. This is not a made-up scenario. Right now, there is a woman in Atlanta going through rehabilitative treatment because a man was trying to get her attention or get her to talk to him or get numbers or whatever. He was trying to sexually advance himself on her. She said no, and he shot her. So there is a real conversation to be had about, is your communication open and free based on the freedom to actually communicate? Because people can say that I openly communicate all day long, but is the individual you're communicating feeling the freedom to truly speak their mind and their piece? Now, and I know people say, well, that's not my responsibility, but it is. You do have a certain level of responsibility of how people are perceiving how you're coming at them. And you have to be the type of individual that can be real enough to say, hey, maybe I'm coming a little aggressive. Because I know, I'm speaking about me now. I ain't gonna talk about nobody else. Me. I know that sometimes I may come across as aggressive because I'm very passionate. So sometimes I will check myself and say, hey, real quick, Courtney, I ain't getting too fired up on your show, am I? Like, just let me know if I'm, because I know I can be a certain way sometime. And then you can say,
Right.
nah, you cool. Or you can say, you doing a lot, bro. I need you to relax. This ain't that kind of show.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
on me when we talk about effective communication to then say, okay, I respect what you're saying. I understand how you may feel about it. This was not my intent, but I understand how it may have made you feel. Let me self-correct. This is what we have to do.
Right.
But these are skills that you need to be learning and practicing before you ever start sleeping with somebody. That's the real caveat,
Right.
is that this is the kind of skills you should be developing before you ever start sleeping with somebody. Because if you're waiting to develop them while you're already having sex, more than likely you already are damaging people and you don't even realize it. And that goes for men and women. Now, women do get charged less for sexual assault crimes because less men speak out. Because men will clown the
Right.
mess out of another
Correct.
man if he comes out and says, "Oh, bro, she raped me. I didn't want to have sex with her." Like,
Right.
if we're gonna be
Or
real, let's
even
be real.
worse yet, when it's man. Even worse yet, when it's a man. Men related assaults are, uh, they are reported.
Yes. Let's see. Males are getting more aggressive towards women. Yes, males are getting more aggressive. See, what I've learned, women don't always got to have proof, is their word against ours. Plenty of guys are in jail for that. Okay, so let's talk statistics real quick. I'm gonna come back to that. Tell me when women get charged rape against men. So if you want, I can do a quick Google search and we can pull up the cases if you want specific case examples, or like, we just tell me what you need. Let's just come in the chat now and I'll respond accordingly. Because I specifically deal with women and children that's been affected by sexual assault, I don't have cases just on the top of my head of where women were charged, but I can definitely pull you up several court cases that have gone on and proceeded. That's the first answer to that. The second part, it with sexual assault. And sexual assault, yes, I will agree with the person in the chat that said that it can be her word against his. With sexual assault, that it is very complex because a lot of times, a lot of the different types of sexual assault that exist may not have physical evidence, right? So that's why most times the crimes you see are the violent crimes that get prosecuted, because you can't necessarily, let's say a form of sexual harassment is every time your female coworker walks past, you talk about how her body looks in her clothes and you make sexual innuendos about what you would do to her. Unless someone heard you saying and making those gestures, it would be very hard to prosecute that. So a lot of times it is her word against his, or whatever the case may be, because it's very hard to get tangible evidence for cases of that nature. Now, when you're talking about violent crimes such as rape, molestation, and things of that nature, what they're looking for typically is bruising, marks, semen, or some type of secretion, bodily fluids, something to show that something happened that was not consensual. And that's why I talk more about advocacy work and support than I do about prosecution. Because I have personally had 5 cases that I've dealt with in the last 6 months that I felt should have gone completely different than they did. Where women spoke out, they reported, there was evidence. In some cases, there was video evidence as well as physical evidence, and the prosecutor did not pick it up and it never went to court. They did not press charges. So it goes both ways. And speaking statistically, I believe it's less than 5% of cases are actually prosecuted and go to court. And if you're talking about women lying, also less than 5% of the time they're lying. So if we're playing a statistical average, that would mean that more times than not, women are telling the truth about some type of sexual experience that happened, some type of sexual violence or harassment that happened that they did not want. And again, like I said, I like to speak straight facts. So men are reported more than women. Men are reported more than women. Let me know what you're saying there, Diamond. I don't know if I'm trying to make sure I understand what you're saying. Men are reported more than women. Are you saying that women report more and so men are arrested more? Or are you saying men report more than women report? And said, nah, I need both cases. Okay, all right. Give me 1 second. I can see if I can drop some links for you. I've seen lots of women school teachers charged through Yes, right. I shouldn't say there was just a woman in, I believe, Cobb County that was arrested and charged and prosecuted for sleeping with her male students. But a woman don't even get charged for simple assault unless there's a pattern or she has to blatantly admit it to the charge. Yes, sir. Fact. We need these structures to operate within to the foundation of tangible health. Yep. Okay. Women talk like that to and about men. Why the same agent given men? Okay, so I can't speak societally for what is and isn't done. I will speak for myself and my organization. I'm gonna keep that same energy across the board kind of individual, right? And I said it earlier, so you may have just joined, but I said it earlier. If a woman is accusing someone of sexual assault and it is later found that they are not being truthful and that there was no assault that occurred, they should get some type of punishment, jail time, or whatever the fair thing would be. They should get some type of punishment for the false accusation, because it is a life-changing and detrimental thing to be accused of sexual assault. So, but everything is a case-by-case basis, and it depends on where you're at, because there are some states that have implicit bias toward women versus men. It depends on your prosecutor. It depends on who your judge is, and these are conversations that we need to have. What I'm not saying is that it's a men against women kind of issue. What I am saying is that it's a predator against prey issue. It is individuals who think that it is their right or their ability or their freedom to be able to take advantage of someone sexually and think that it is acceptable or okay. Whether you're a man, whether you're a woman, whether you're a cat, you're a dog, or you're a mouse. The point is that you should not sexually assault individuals. Now, if we're going based on the conversation, I can only then play to the averages and the numbers and the statistics available to me, which is that men assault more than women. I'm not saying that it is entirely true. I am saying that is the data that's been provided to us. And so based on that data, that is the point of the conversation. Now, if you give me a moment, I can definitely pull up some court cases for you. I mean, I'm in the middle of doing the interview and talking and expounding, but I could definitely get some for you where women have been charged with sexual assault, rape, molestation, and other things of that nature. There was a woman actually that was arrested not too long ago. I believe she cut her husband's genitals off. And threw it in. She was driving down the expressway, threw it out the window. So it definitely does happen. I will. So get the statistics first on both sides. True, I agree. So get the statistics first on both sides. Okay, Bronzebird, I can definitely do that for you. 1 out of every 33 men report are sexually assaulted in some form, shape, or another. The numbers show statistically that men report less. So that is not to say that they are not assaulted. It is just to say that they report less, and that in theory that it may happen less. Not to say that that is true. Again, my specialty is in women and children, so I don't just have the numbers pulled up. I can give you, if you give me a moment, I can actually go. Let's see. Let's go to rain.org. If you're in front of your computer, go to rain.org. It's the National Association for Rape, Incest, and Other Sexual Assault Crimes. And we can pull up the numbers. And if you have an even longer moment, we can go to the FBI website, and we can get it just like that. But give me just a moment. Let's look at it in real time. And Courtney, let me know how we're doing on things. I ain't trying to come take over your show and what we're doing.
You're doing totally fine. Absolutely, you're doing okay. I also wanted to let everyone know that um, I'm going to link your speech onto the community tab on my channel so people can see that as well.
Awesome. Yeah, rain. It's RAINN.org. Yeah, so it's RAINN.org, and said, can you post the link? I'm gonna research. Okay, cool. Bronzebird, and I appreciate you. Can't tell by the profile picture if it's a man or woman that I'm talking to, but I appreciate you for challenging the conversation, because this is what it's all about, right? Having a conversation, being open enough to say, look, it's stuff I don't know. I want to find out more information about it. Let's talk. Because what will happen then is people are educated through this conversation. So I am by no means coming for you or being, out of pocket or any of those things. I don't want nobody to take it the wrong way. But yeah, I'm here for it. So if you go to rain.org and you click on the 3 little lines on the side, there's going to be a drop down. It's going to say sexual violence. If you click on sexual violence, it'll be another drop down that opens up and says about sexual violence or after sexual assault. So if we go to about sexual violence, click on that. Every 73 seconds, which I stated this earlier, but every 73 seconds an American is sexually assaulted. So that's men and women. That's the stat for men and women. Sexually 73 seconds. Now, we can go down. If you scroll down, there will be one that talks about the types of sexual violence, but we can just click on read more statistics. If you scroll down a little more, and they have a tab that says victims of sexual violence. Scroll down a little more. We'll read the numbers in real time, right? Ages 12 through 34 are the highest risk years for rape and sexual assault. Those aged 65 and older are 92% less likely than 12 through 24 years old to be a victim of rape or sexual assault. Uh, Women and children experience sexual violence at high rates. 1 out of every 6 American women has been a victim of an attempted or completed rape in her lifetime, which is about 14.8% completed and 2.8% attempted. Let's see. Men and boys. This is what you were talking about. So I'll skip to talk about the women for just a second. We'll come back to that. Men and boys are also affected by sexual violence. Millions of men in the United States have been victims of rape. As of 1998, 2.7 million men in the U.S. had been victims of attempted or completed rape. About 3% of American men, or 1 in 33%, as I spoke of earlier, have experienced an attempted or completed rape in their lifetime. 1 out of every 10 rape victims are men. So, for college students aged 18 and 24, that's about 5 times the national average, and then 8 for non-students ages 18 and 24, it's a different number. So I hope that gives a little bit to it. So we just have yep, gotcha. You bored a bit. It sounded sort of speeding up. I'm listening to research. Okay, I'm breaking up. I'm sorry. Okay, can y'all hear me now?
Uh, I thought it was just me, but it does sound like it's a little oh, now I've lost you. Oh, oh wow. Okay. All right, let me go back him up. We're going to give him a couple more minutes to get back up. I'm actually researching as well, and I am here also about the post of a fact here that according to DHS, Department of Health Services and DCF, that more there are more with male rapes. There are up to 35% more male on male rapes than female on male rapes. So, um, oh, I'm boarding too. Ooh, sorry. I don't know. Maybe it's just Georgia, y'all. Maybe it's just Georgia. But I will be linking uh Brother Jeremiah's information to the chat. I'm going to give him a couple of minutes to try to come back on. Let me also do the same. Just hold one moment, you all. Thank
Oh, that's cool. Okay, okay, I'm back in. I'm back. I'm back. I'm back. I'm back. I had to restart my phone because y'all said y'all couldn't hear me. I want to make sure we catch all this. I don't want no slip ups, no mishaps. So we back. We locked in. Let me see. So we were in the chat. We were discussing claim with hosting on the guest. Okay, cool comments. Be right back. Be right back. I'm gonna cook real quick. Okay, okay. Let's see. So let's catch up. Lynn B. Hey, your sound seems normal now.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And what they were also saying, Jeremiah, which is the fact, is that so I was on DCF and DHS, and it reported that 35% of 30, men are raped or abused 35% more by other men or boys than they are by females. And so we want to also add in that piece of information. Some of
It's true.
the
It's true.
there were some Glow Nation members that were also sharing that information, that when we talk about, they say, well, what about male rape? What about male rape? A lot of times it is a lot more oftentimes it is committed by another male. Okay, so
Yeah,
I'm
and
going
again,
back
that's
on
and that's why I
mute.
started off the conversation by
And
saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, I
perfect.
didn't hear you, Courtney. Go ahead." Lynn said, "I'm just joking. No offense intended." Oh no, Lynn, I'm not
Oh no,
offended by any
I was
means.
just saying that I'm going back on mute. Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay,
I just said
yeah,
I'm going
yeah,
back on
Lynn.
mute. So go ahead. Yeah, continue your conversation.
Okay. Diamond said, "Yeah, you sound good now." Okay, cool. Lynn said, "I'm just joking. No offense intended." Oh, I ain't offended, Lynn, by any means. You good in my book. This isn't true. That is from what's reported. So and this is why I preference the conversation based on to respond to that isn't true. That's what from what's reported is that I can only talk about what is available to be known, right? So I host rooms on Clubhouse every Sunday where it's called a safe space. And in this safe space, I invite people to come in and talk about their real life experiences. This past Sunday, I had an individual who was a male talking about his experience with a woman who was taking advantage of him and was making his life very difficult. He ended up being diagnosed with PTSD from it, right? So I'm not by any means trying to make this a man versus woman thing. What I am saying is I state my conversations based on the facts that have been reported and that is available to me. I can't say what is happening because I'm not everywhere all the time. I can only talk about what stats have been reported based on what people have come out and said and what's been documented, just like with anything else. Now, I say that to say that again, this isn't men versus women or women versus men. This is rapists, molesters, serial violent offenders against a community of people that are coming together and saying we want to stop sexual violence, we want to make a difference, we want to make a change. Nothing more, nothing less. It isn't a let's bash men hour, it isn't a let's bash women hour. It's a let's have a real conversation about an issue that is not talked about enough in America, especially in the black community. So I'm gonna hop back into the comments. How do you know boys aren't getting raped by other boys? Oh, that's yeah, I'll let you respond to that one. I've been in men's groups where men talk about their past. I've been in women's groups where they openly say they take sexual advances with men. Okay, right. So I agree with you. There are it is 100% wholeheartedly a fact that there are women who take advantage of men. I'm not saying that they're not or that it isn't or that is not the case. I'm just speaking on what I am an expert in on what I've studied the last 3 years, which was women and children, more specifically women who've been affected by sexual assault. I'm not saying that men are not. One out of every 33, according to the statistic, is the number. Um, and I agree with that number. I think it's actually higher than that. I think that there are more men who have experienced different levels of sexual harassment, sexual abuse, sexual violence. Um, but again, I can only speak to what's been reported, and I can gladly talk about that. I don't have any problem going down those numbers. But I can only talk about what's reported. I can't talk about necessarily what I don't have an example of. I'm saying that it's not more gay rape over heterosexual for women or men. I see. Uh, there are statistics on that. If you're still on RAIN, which is RAINN.org, there are statistics that speak to that as well. And we could read some of them live if you like. But
Yeah, and I do. Just one moment, Jeremiah. I do want to address that actually. So, I was the victim of a sexual assault. I was raped by a coworker um, years ago, and I was a part of a group. And the first day of that group, a detective came in and um, he shared some information. Cooking with Sir Senior, I'm not disputing the information that you have encountered. I'm not disputing the information that the men or the women's groups that you've been a part of, or you the survivor or the abuse groups that you've been a part of. I can share from my personal experience, personal account, a detective of 16 years with the Miami Police Department, and actually, interestingly enough, his brother, his his twin brother, is an actor on Law and Order SVU, or was. I haven't watched in years, but so he was able to not only provide information but also pour into his brother information that helped him become more believable with his role on Law and Order. But he shared with us, and this is the first day of the support group, that men are not they are four times less likely to share that they have been assaulted by a man, especially with another man. That's a detective. Like, literally, there were situations with boys. He said it would be visible from wounds, and they would say to them that nothing happened. So this is a detective. This is someone that can prosecute, and they don't want to share that. So the fact that you think that these men would be in these groups and openly share that with a man that can't do anything about the trauma that they face, I think that that's a little problematic, just a little bit there. I don't think, and I think that sometimes when we put forward, it provides kind of a space of making men that have sexual assault are being sexually exploited think that it isn't
okay.
as normal. So I think that we need to normalize people coming forth with that truth more. So I just wanted to add that, and I'm going back on mute.
Yeah, and so for a little clarity, right? I want to talk about that for a second. There's a comment that was just recently made that I really want to jump on, and this is the one I agree with. A rapist is a rapist, male or female, and they need to be stopped and need help. That, I think, is the most important and key takeaway from this piece of the dialogue, because we have to understand that sexual assault, rape, molestation, most of those crimes are never about the sex act themselves. They are about control. And so if we dive into that narrative a little bit more, um, rapists could be put on the same level as people who control people through money, financial control, sexual control. All of these things tend to be about control and manipulation and coercion of another individual, not particularly always the act itself. Um, but I want to point out something, and I was talking about this a minute ago, so I'm going to pull it up here. Give me just a second. I want to read what is defined as sexual assault, because I think it can be helpful um, and give a little clarity to this conversation. And this is why I will agree that more men are sexually assaulted than they realize. Sexual assault is any type of sexual activity or contact that you do not consent to. Consent is the major and key word here. Sexual assault can happen through physical force or through threats of force, or if the attacker gave the victim drugs or alcohol as a part of the assault. Sexual assault includes rape and sexual coercion. And the reason I pointed that out is when you take away consent, in any type of sexual activity or contact or conversation, and there is not consent, that is sexual assault. Sexual assault is the overarching umbrella. Things like molestation, rape, and other crimes of nature fall under sexual assault. Now, I want to make out another distinction. Sexual assault and sexual abuse are technically the same thing. Sexual abuse is used typically when you're talking about children. Sexual harassment, and I'll read that definition, and I want to read it verbatim so that we can have it. Sexual harassment typically is behavior that's characterized by the making of unwelcome and inappropriate sexual remarks or physical advances in a workplace or other professional or social situations. So most of us watching this current broadcast have experienced some type of sexual harassment, I would venture to say, right? So that's where comments or inappropriate behavior, lewd or explicit behavior, even unwarranted pics, right? So we hear all the time about people sending pics of their genitals and other parts of their bodies. If it wasn't requested, you've actually committed a form of sexual harassment. And so I like to point out those differences because a lot of times we're having these conversations, the lines get very blurred. But some things like sexual harassment are not going to always be prosecutable, which is why I like to focus my organization on supporting survivors. If someone is saying this has happened, how can we help support them, right? Because we won't always, realistically, we will not be in a place where we're always able to prosecute. But oftentimes or not, people just need support. They need help saying, hey, I went through this. It was traumatizing to me. It was problematic for me. I don't know how to cope and deal with it. So I'm gonna jump back in since I wanted to hear you. It's not okay. Rape is often used as a means of humiliating, degrading, and disempowering another person. Yes, and if we really want to get back into it, since we were talking about Malcolm X Day and all these other different things, if you go far enough back, you will see that rape was used as a tool. As it's called buck breaking, where they would rape the strongest, most powerful, dominant male in the community. They would rape him in front of his wife and his children to show power and dominance. To go back to my point, rape is not about sex most times. It is about control. It is about humiliation. It is about degradation. It is about making myself feel more empowered and bigger than the other person. Let's see now. It says Diamond Princess, both from the men I talked to. Okay, that wasn't to me. Now, brother, let me ask you this. How do you feel about people falsely accusing people, raping them? Seen it a couple of times, and that was not cool. Yeah. So I've stated and I repeat it. For me, I feel that if you falsely accuse someone, now if we want to go into statistics, I believe it's less than 5% of people actually falsely accuse someone, which means 95% or better are actually telling the truth and that there was some type of sexual violence that occurred. However, when we're talking about that percentage that does lie, I believe they should be held accountable the same way we would hold somebody accountable if they were prosecuted for sexually assaulting, sexually harassing, or sexually abusing someone. I think that what we've gotten away from is holding people accountable. Even in this most recent case where they found the officer guilty, 3 charges of guilty, right? People are saying that's justice. No, that's accountability. If you do something, you are responsible for the consequences that come from what you do. And so if you're lying on people, just like I tell my children, if you're caught in a lie, you're responsible for the lie that you told and the fact that you told it. And so my stance on it, and this is me, I believe that it should be against the law. And depending on where they lie, if they lie on the stand, that's perjury, and it is against the law. And again, it goes to the individuals and what they push for and what they're charged with and who the individuals are that are handling the case. Because oftentimes you can be charged with crimes for falsely accusing people, making false accusations. There are charges for it. But the problem is that the system that we have is very antiquated. And so a lot of the wording and verbiage it's a very slippery slope, depending on who you have representing you, who's speaking, who's doing this. There's a lot of loopholes. But I do agree and believe that if you are lying on someone and saying that they've done something to you that did not happen, and I'm not talking about theoretically, I mean like with the facts, the evidence, what we are able to prove, disprove based on what's in front of us, and it's not the case, then yes, that person should be prosecuted. Let's see. It says a form of humiliation. Okay. My fault. Okay, like, okay, no problem there. Agreed to own up to what you did. Yeah, I mean, it comes down to accountability. Rarely prosecuted for lying about abuse. Um, Based on what was there a push for prosecution? So cooking with CER_C00. So based on the experiences that I'm assuming you're speaking from that you either had or you saw, was there a push for prosecution? Because the same way that there's rarely a push for prosecution based on someone lying, it's also rarely a push for prosecution when there's a sexual assault. Case in point, the last 3 cases that I dealt with most recently, they reported to law enforcement. The prosecutor decided they would not pick it up. The detective called back and said that they had the opportunity if they wanted to continue to press charges, and they declined. So there's equally not as big of a push for, if you're saying that every 73 seconds Americans sexually assaulted, that's 28 million women a year if we're going by the numbers. Everybody can't be pushing for prosecution because a lot of people would be in jail if there was evidence to support it. So my question comes to you. It says, when you say rarely prosecuted for lying about abuse, where is that coming from? Is that coming from a personal experience? Is that coming from what you've heard, seen, or and had conversations with other people? We could dive into that. As a matter of fact, I'm sure if it's a stat, it's Googleable. Let's see. So prosecution rate for lying about. Let's see. So they have a stat for lying about harassment. Let's see if we can find some on sexual assault. And the other problem with this is sometimes it's hard to find data and statistics because people don't like to talk about these things. But let's see. 1993 says states that while researchers and prosecutors do not agree on the exact percentage of cases, so we can agree that there's not an exact percentage, but this is based on what's being seen, in which there was significant evidence to conclude the allegations were false, they generally agree on a range of 2 to 10%. So somewhere between 2 to 10%. Let's see. The BBC did an article in 2018. That may be the most recent. Let me read that. See, everyone being held accountable is not the American way. Well, I do agree with that. It is not the American way, but this goes back to the conversation of developing a community, right? I myself hold people accountable. I ask that people hold me accountable. You see me out and about doing something that don't align with the message I'm telling you here today, call me out on it, right? I can't. America was not built from the perspective of holding accountability, but that's a conversation that's larger than just sexual assault. I don't like bullies, male or female. I 100% agree, and that's why I said this is not about man or woman against each other. This is about, or whatever you identify as, to be respectful to anybody who may be watching. But this is about people who like to take advantage of other people based on sexual activity as a means of control against people who don't want that to happen. But there's an article, bbc.com/news/world-US-Canada, and then some numbers after that. I can maybe I can get Courtney to send out the link. But it says the truth about false assault accusations by women. Okay, it says here's what we do know. So let's get into some studies, some facts, some numbers. It says over the past 20 years, only 2 to 10% of rape accusations are proven to be fake. So the most recent study that they did over the past 20 years has found that only 2 to 10%. People argue back and forth between the 2 and the 10, and any of the numbers fall in between, but 2 to 10% of rape accusations have been found to, or have been proven to be fake. Let's continue. It says that figure does not include any unsubstantiated accusations where an investigation was unable to prove a sexual assault occurred. So an accurate figure for that total remains unknown. And so that goes back to my original statement. We don't know an exact number. We know relatively somewhere between 2 and 10%. So I look at it this way, and this is the conversation I have with people. If I've got 100 snakes coming at me, and I think Muhammad Ali used this example one time. If I've got 100 snakes coming at me, and the numbers say that 90% of them snakes are bad, I'm probably going to close the door on all them snakes, right? That's my approach to sexual assault, is to say that more than likely, overwhelmingly, most times when someone says they've been sexually assaulted or abused or have had some type of sexual harassment in their life, they're telling the truth. Now, 10% or lower, because I'll play to the averages, anywhere from 2 to 10%, so I'll play to the averages, 10% or lower may be lying. I'm willing to take that risk And I'm willing to get my hands dirty. I'm willing to get scuffed up. I'm willing to get drugged through the mud and ride for that 90%. Because I know that more than likely, based on statistics, they're telling the truth. I'm not saying that it's a fact, but I'm saying statistically, that's what I have to go by. Now, if it was something like 50-50, it could go either way. But we're talking 90 and 10. We're talking, I mean, ugh, ugh. So it says that means that 92 to 98% of reports are truthful. Yes, a lot of victims don't report. That's absolutely correct, Lynn. That 92 to 98% of reports are truthful. Develop a system amongst your tribe, aka like-minded people. I agree with that 100%. We have to be careful in church too. Pastors and priests are molesting and raping children. That's a yes. We could definitely talk about that. Horrible people versus everyone else. I 100% agree. Yeah, he did. And that's it, right? We have to have a system of accountability that does not have bias for who the individual is. As a matter of fact, when I first started doing this work, there's an individual that knows me. I know them. This individual has seen my children, relatively been around them a little bit, not by himself, but he's been around my children, been around my wife, been around my family. I thought I knew this individual, but as soon as I got involved in this advocacy work, I kid you not, this is a personal story from my life. As soon as I got involved, my baby talking to me, my little itty bitty baby, my 1-year-old. As soon as I got involved with this advocacy work, someone sent me a DM and said this individual has just been charged with sexually assaulting young girls, kidnapping them, hiding them in his home. I deleted the numbers to stop all immediate association. Here's why. Because the facts of the matter is, my granddaddy used to tell me this all the time, you have to have clean hands. And what he meant by that was, you do not put yourself in an environment or a situation where you are being accused or you are doing things that are unright, unjust. Right? And I'm not going to get on my soapbox and preach to other grown individuals, but what I'm saying is, I try to live my life where I don't treat people even in a way where they would want to lie on me and say that I've done something to them that did not happen. I can't control other people's actions. Let me be very clear about my statement here and what I'm saying. But what I do try to do is live my life in a way that I don't leave relationships. I don't leave jobs. I don't leave any type of scenario where it can be said and believed that I was this type of individual. Right? And you can't always control what other people are going to say, but I try to live my life in a way that even if I had interaction, like I pride myself on most of my exes, and I ain't just date a lot of women either, but most of my exes, I would like to think they'd have good things to say about me. I tried to treat them right when I was with them. See, the problem is we get comfortable, and I'm not just talking about men and women, just we in general. We get comfortable with doing people dirty and sideways when we think that they're disposable or that we don't need them anymore, and then watch life spiral out of control. I try to live my life as where I don't burn bridges. If I got to go back, if I ever have to have another conversation with you or be involved, I can do that. But I say all of that to say, if we're going back to the averages, 92 to 98% of the people that say they've been sexually assaulted in one way, shape, or another are telling the truth. If we continue on down through the study, it says other studies have figures in the same range. The FBI, the Federal Bureau of Investigations, has put the number of unfounded rapes, those determined to be false after investigation, at about 8%. So we can make the argument that anywhere from 90 to 92% are telling the truth. Fake rape accusations get a lot of attention. Both the Duke lacrosse team case in 2006 and the alleged University of Virginia gang rape in 2014 were widely covered by the media. They were terrible miscarriages of justice, but they were not representative. False rape accusations very rarely lead to convictions or wrongful jail time. A useful article in Courts by Sandra Newman points to research from the British Home Office showing that in the early 2000s, of the 216 cases that were classified as false allegations, only 6 led to an arrest. I read those numbers and I read those statistics to say we can't get, I don't want to say distracted, because I want to be, as a man, I feel where you coming from, but we can't let the smaller percentage be our guiding light for the larger percentage. Because of the way the numbers are so widely skewed, I have to believe that most people are telling the truth. That's not to say that there are not liars. There are people who will 100% lie on you. I agree with you wholeheartedly there. But I also realize that that number, when we're specifically talking about sexual assault, is drastically lower than the people who are actually telling the truth. Let's see. What classifies assault that you can explain? Yeah, I can run back over that real quick. It says the 10% that are lies. What happened to the people that have been lied on? What happened? Okay, I think I just answered that one. Most times it does not lead to an arrest, but that was in the 2000s. Again, people don't regularly do studies on this because it's not a hot topic. We like to talk about homelessness. We like to talk about murders. We like to talk about other crimes because, I guess it's easier to believe that somebody shot somebody in the head than it is to believe that somebody sexually assaulted somebody for years. I'm not sure why we don't do more consistent studies on this, but yeah. Good for you, Jeremiah said. Uh-oh. What did I miss here? Okay. You don't have to do something to someone for them to lie on you. Right. So let me clarify. That's not the point I'm making. Not that you have to do something. I try to live my life in a way where people would not want to lie on me. I'm not saying you have to do anything. People have lied on me 100% just because they wanted to lie on me. What I'm saying is I can only control myself and the way that I live my life and the way that I move and operate. I can't necessarily control if someone's going to lie, but I can control if my ducks are in a row. So you could just because somebody tells a lie doesn't mean it then automatically become facts. They can tell a lie, but the as far as the judicial system goes, in theory, that lie has to then be proven by something, what we call evidence. And so I'm not one of them people that just sit here and champions the judicial system because I've seen it drop the ball thousands of times. So I'm not saying that. What I am saying is that we can't allow the less than 10% or less of individuals that lie when it comes to sexual assault, because we're talking about sexual assault. I'm not talking about life in general. I'm talking specifically sexual assault. Less than 10% of the people who are saying that an assault has occurred are lying. Less than 10%. That means the other 90 plus percentage of them are telling the truth. With numbers like that so skewed, I have to believe, in theory, that most of them are telling the truth. What happened to the players of the Duke lacrosse team? There was an accusation. I don't know who got the settlement. I don't know the entire details on the Duke lacrosse team. I believe there was members of the team were accused of sexually assaulting someone, but I don't know the full details of it. Let's see. People in jail for being lied on. I have never said that people were not in jail for being lied on. What I said is that statistically, most of the people who've been lied on when it relates to sexual assault, because that's what this conversation is about, are not in jail for that. But we continue. Who got a settlement? I'm not sure, but you can look that up. Jeremiah, I'm starting to feel you have in the comments who wanted to reflect on the issue of women victims by turning the conversation and women victimizers. The woman got fined and lost her civil case. She was arrested and her book tour was canceled. Oh, there you go. Courtney already answered it. Men do not want to talk about the reality of women and children being raped. I will agree with that 100%, Lynn. I do think that men don't want to, most men, not all men, they don't want to have the conversation about sexual assault happening. And I don't, I'm trying to wrap my head around it. I don't know what's so hard to
No,
believe
they
about it
don't.
or
You
why
know
it's
what
such a
someone told
thing.
me?
Go ahead, Courtney.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off because
No, no,
there's
go
a
ahead.
delay, and so I thought I had a break. I'm sorry. But what someone told me, literally, this was a young man, and I was about to say something else. I'm not going to say it, but he's a young man that is a married, a father of two. Now he's divorced. He was married actually, but when he was a child, he was raped by two men, and years later, years later, those same men lived in the community, and it came to my attention about not even about his. I didn't find that out until later. He told me he confided in me later, but it came to my attention that those same men were doing some very suspicious activity with girls, with young girls, and these older, much older. I mean, like 50, 60-year-old men. And at that point in time, now mind you, he hadn't even told me about his own rape. I found that out years later after this whole situation. But at the time where I found this out, because again, I was like I said, I was a member of the council in Miami, and I made it a point of um a point of contention at a community meeting about these rumors, but not rumors. These were stories that were confirmed by several different young ladies, and he spoke up on behalf of these men and said that these men taught him how to play basketball. They taught him how to, they took him fishing. They, gave money to his mom to help his mom pay rent. And come to find out 2 years later, this man revealed to me after one of the men passed away that one of those men were had raped him. So this is I think this speaks directly to what you said with Stockholm, with you know these traumas, and are that they just put it in a different place so that they don't have to address it. And it's so much easier to talk about the like it is with R. Kelly. It's so much easier to talk about the good songs that he made and the good music and stepping in the name of love, rather than talk about this man trafficking women, young, not even women, girls. It makes it make this is this is an uncomfortable conversation, because it goes from talking about their favorite entertainer to talking about their uncle, their brother, their
Right.
cousin, their father, their stepdad, their cousin, their their husbands. So we've got to really stop this, with not allowing a safe space to have these conversations, challenging each other. And I agree with you, Lynn, wholeheartedly. I do not like what I'm seeing in some of these comments. It just seems like we are deflecting. And I again applaud you, Jeremiah, for the work that you're doing. I know it's not easy. Um, I know it's not my I was an intake clerk, and my father, both of my parents were social workers. My father made me promise. I was an intake clerk in Miami, and I had gotten a really high score, and so they were going to place me with a higher caseload. And my dad made me promise him. He said, "Courtney, don't do this for more than 2 years, because some things you just cannot leave at work. You can't
Right.
leave it at work, you know." So I advocate you for what you're doing. um, how did Robert have access to the children? At the McDonald's, going where children go. Snuggles, talking about R. Kelly, how did he have access to children? He had a whole team of people that eventually started helping him find young girls. Okay, the more popular, the more money he became. He had a team of men that would look for his quote unquote type. Okay, and they would help him secure a number, burner phones, and he would set up conversations with these young girls, and in most of these cases they were single moms, uh we really have to stop pretending like these are so far-fetched, and I remember, and I had two parents in the household, and it just was, because I was just kind of a weirdo when it came to certain things. I didn't like older men and that sort of thing. Um, but I had two parents in a household, and there were many times throughout my youth that if I wanted to, I could have, you know, had some very inappropriate relationships with men, with grown men. So I don't, I personally, I want to be very honest, Jeremiah, just out of respect for you and your advocacy and your work. I do not like the way some of these comments, what is being said in some of these comments, these conversations. And I think that instead of people really trying to have a real solution and build up real dialogue, they are deflecting. So I'm going to again ask that if anybody would like to challenge any of these statistics, reach out to Jeremiah personally, please.
Well, and I
Because
do want to say one thing. It won't even be a challenge if you
sure,
just
go
want to
ahead.
have a back and forth of rhetoric, we could do that, but it wouldn't be a challenge because one thing I don't do is I don't debate, I educate. I speak nothing but facts. So anything that I'm saying can be looked up from numerous studies because I spent 3 years. Like I think it's cool to, whatever your opinion is, you thought it's cool or whatever. But I spent 3 years studying this very topic. So I know the numbers inside and out. I can pull up articles all day long, validating my point. And getting back to it, here's the bottom line, right? So let's take men and women out of it. Every 73 seconds, an American is sexually assaulted. So what that means is whether you believe men align, women align, you think that it's true or not true, if the statistics don't tell the full story, whatever the case may be, every minute and 13 seconds, an American, man or woman, male or female, identify as whatever you identify as or whatever, is sexually assaulted. My organization, the Hands Off Foundation, specifically advocates for women and children. The question was asked, who's advocating for men? There are hundreds of advocacy groups that focus on men specifically. 1 in 6 is an organization. There are several others. If you do a simple Google search on men's advocacy groups for sexual assault and sexual harassment, you will find there several. I advocate for those who've been sexually assaulted. Me, myself, personally, So when I host my rooms on Clubhouse, it's not about man or woman. It's about people coming in and telling their story and getting their truth out there. Specifically, the organization that I founded is for women and children. And it's based on a court case where I was dealing with women and children who were being sexually assaulted by a male, which is what led me to start my organization. You can look that up. You can look up the court case, and you can also look up my bio, my resume, and the work that I've done previously. I say that to say the focus is if we're going with the overarching focus is people need to stop taking advantage and sexually assaulting other people. Man, woman, boy, girl, whatever it is. That's the major focus. The micro focus is that I'm then focusing on women and children. And if we're going by a statistical average based on what's reported, even though we know that those reports are skewed because humans are flawed individuals, women still are overarchingly assaulted more sexually than men. That is the data as it stands. And if we really got even deeper into it, there's multiple reports and studies that have been done on this thing, and so that's just what that is with that. Who says your son? No, there are not really ones. What are you basing that on? Like, what are you basing that on? You saying that there's not organizations for heterosexual men, and I'm trying to understand.
This is what I want to know too. I'm camming up. Cooking with Sir Senior. This is what I want to know too. How do you know? You act like you were really in conversations with all of these men. Like, how do you know that?
I'm sure there are men. Matter of fact, I know.
Yes, I'm sure too.
Better yet, I'll do you one better than this. Here's a real life one.
Okay.
There is an individual that I'm getting ready to do a men's conference with. Since we want to talk about what men aren't doing, I'm about accountability, right? So forget everything else. Here's what Jeremiah is doing. I'm doing a conference, and I hope to see you there. I'm doing a conference via Zoom with myself, Javon Palmer, Mike Walton, and it's called the Barbershop Check-In, Men Helping Men Be Better Men. And we're talking about this specific topic, sexual assault, sexual abuse, what it looks like in our community, why men are abusing women, why are men abused. And one of the individuals who is co-leading this panel with me is a male who was molested by another male. So tell me again where they're not males, heterosexual males, because I'm married to a woman, have been and have always been heterosexual. Tell me again where they're not groups and organizations who are focusing on this. That's a deflection. There are a lot of good people who do a lot of great work. Yeah. We could use more, but the problem is that we don't support organizations like myself. Do you know how hard it is for me to get people to just make simple donations to the organization? Not to me, because I don't take a salary. I get my money from speaking. I get my money from being a published author. I get my money from traveling. I get my money from hosting events. I get my money from a lot of different other places. I don't take a salary for this organization. But I still can't get people to give, men or women, even though the work I've dedicated my life to is to help them. So tell me, where is the lack? There needs to be more. I 100% agree with you. There needs to be more male organizations. There needs to be more female organizations. But the reality of it is we would rather put profits over people. People don't value nonprofits. People don't value advocacy work. People don't value social work until it's needed or it's too late. I can't tell you how many people I've helped myself personally that I don't even get a phone call back from after they've been assisted. Because what we value in our society, and this isn't an attack on you, this is a conversation about people as a whole. What we value is getting what we need for ourselves. But see, I don't necessarily have a problem with that because I do think you have to be a certain level of selfish in order to be selfless. But what I do have a problem is when people are not speaking from facts and figures that are Googleable and researchable. There are 35 organizations. Matter of fact, I don't know what state you're in, but I'm in Georgia. There's 35 organizations, specifically state-backed organizations in Georgia that deal with sexual assault, sexual abuse, and sexual harassment for heterosexual men and women. There's
Yeah,
actually less
and I just
organizations
want
that
to,
deal with it for people who are in the LGBTQ
yeah,
plus uh, community.
RSPZWXY, yeah. But I also would like to say, Cooking with Sir Senior, no one is saying that because you have experience that makes the situation false. But it also doesn't make anything, it doesn't corroborate other men that have gone through sexual trauma from other men. Okay, it's not, we're not saying that doesn't negate your experience, does not negate anybody else's, but it also doesn't corroborate everyone else's either. Okay, I was sexually assaulted by a coworker. That does not mean that, I'm like, oh, all coworkers, that's what they do. They're raping, they're raping women, they're raping us women out here. All coworkers need to be on alert. And and I would never even gone out to on a limb to say all women in workplaces are facing rape. And I know because I was a woman in a workplace that was raped by a coworker. And that is quintessentially what you are doing. That's what you're doing. And like I said, I mean, I am not only a person that, like I said, went through, but also continue to work in the field with law enforcement. And so I can tell you that even with what that detective said, it was corroborated by other officers throughout the years, and even the gentleman that I am, in a relationship with now is a former officer, and we just literally had this conversation yesterday. So I think I just think that there's a little bit of, you're missing the bigger picture there, which is that our situations, that's why I always say I speak to myself, I speak about these situations specifically, and I don't speak hypothetically nor fantastically nor generally. I'm speaking specifically, and I'm saying, hey, this is what happened to me, this is what was told to me, and this is what I've experienced. But I'm never going to sit out here and say, oh, okay, because this happened to me, this must mean everybody in workplaces are sitting around being raped, because that's what happened to me. I was raped in the workplace. I just think that that's very problematic. Um, so
Well, I think
yeah,
this is realistic of what we see happen though, right? And not to cut you off. And again, I'm being respectful of your show, so let me know when you're ready to. It's your thing. I'm here as long as you need me, but it's your
no,
show.
go ahead.
Um,
Yeah, we are.
I
I
was
I really think this is important. So please go ahead. I'm back on mute.
so cooking with sir. I'm gonna hop in right here real quick, right? Um, your premise is right. The way you're presenting it is incorrect. And here's what I mean by that. The conversation technically is, yes, about women and children, because once again, the Hands Off Foundation is a nonprofit organization that helps women and children who've been affected by sexual assault. As a sexual assault advocate who has been trained and certified, I advocate for men and women. The particular conversation that we're having today is about women and the assaults that they go through. However, that does not mean men are not assaulted. As a matter of fact, the two are not mutually exclusive. They actually are parallel to each other. Men are assaulted as well as women. We just happen to be talking about the women. That does not mean that men are not assaulted. That does not mean that they should not be advocated for. That does not mean that they don't deserve a space in the conversation. Myself, I am an expert or an advocate or a leader in the space for women and children, because that's what my organization, my training, and my leadership is about in the area that I come from based on my background and experiences. Case in point, if I worked at a Cadillac dealership and worked on Cadillacs all day, you would not call me or hire me to then go come work on your Honda. Why? Because I'm a specialist and an expertise in Cadillacs. Now, that's not to say that men don't have a place in the conversation, but I would challenge you to say that if you're saying women lie on men, then you have to also be fair to say that men lie on women. So if we're going to look at it in totality, then we can look at it from all the angles and say, okay, men also lie on women or lie about assaults that they have committed, which is why it is able to go on for so long in different communities. Specifically in the Black community, this is often more or not what actually happens. Is there's a conversation that's going on that needs to be had, something gets brought up and it sidebars, and it ends up to be more of a back and forth of a debate versus educating and really looking at how we can eradicate and solve these problems. Now, I will challenge you and offer you can slide in my DM, send me a message or whatever the case, and I'd be more than happy to connect and we can talk about what we can do to help men, because I'm all on board 24/7 about advocacy work, especially when it comes to sexual assault. But for me and my organization, as they used to say, for me in my house, for the Hands Off Foundation, the one that I founded, put all my money up to get incorporated and became a full-fledged 501c3 public charity. That particular organization focuses on women and children. That does not mean we don't care about men. I am a man. I think it is unfortunate that men are sexually assaulted. I think it is unfortunate that anyone is sexually assaulted. But this particular conversation happens to be about women and children. Now, that does not mean you have to be silent. I think that it is important that men are part of the conversation, and I challenge and urge more men to be a part of the conversation. But here's a caveat to that. For me, what I consider to be a man is one that protects, provides, and preaches. That's the 3 P's, right? So one thing you can ask about me and ask about my wife is, do I preach in the house? Yes. And what I mean by that, I'm not a preacher, I'm not a pastor, I'm not a member, leader of some congregation. What I mean is I tell my family what is the truth, the realities of life, and I try to prepare them for life. So I preach. Do I protect? Yes, I do, 100%. My wife should feel nothing but safe in my arms, around me, and near me. Period. My children as well. That means I tell my son now, I have an 11-year-old and I have a 1-year-old. I tell both of them equally. If something's going on that you don't like or you don't feel comfortable with, you come tell me. I'm handling it off top. And the assumption is, even if I know that children lie, the assumption is off the top, I'm taking your side. We're going to find out the facts. We're going to sit down. We're going to talk about it. And daddy going to bat for you. Point blank period. Husband going to bat for you. Point blank period. Friend going to bat for you. Point blank period. Advocate going to bat for you. Point blank period. Because that's what men do. We preach, we protect, and we provide. I make sure that my family is taken care of each and every single day. And when I say family, I'm not just talking about the woman I married, the 2 children that I have, but I'm talking about each and every one of you. The people that are commenting on this live broadcast, the people that follow me on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, the people that follow my website, the people who subscribe to the email blog. I consider those individual family. Everyone who's donated to my organization, I consider you family. Which means if I get a phone call, I'm that individual. Yes, I get up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in the morning. I get up whatever time I get a phone call and see how I can help. That is a verified and documented fact. I have individuals who've gone through my facility who called me 1 in the morning crying with video evidence. I got out of my bed, unwrapped my arms around my wife, got out of my bed, looked at the video, looked at the evidence, looked at what was sent to me and said, okay, let's get to work. Let me find out what I can do. Let me be on the phone with you until you feel safe. That's what advocacy work is about. It's not about a man against women or women against men or children against this. It's about sexual predators needing to be stopped. And I'm one of the individuals who is a warrior in that space and saying, this is what will happen. This is what will not happen. This is about creating community. Right. And so this ain't just really for you. This is for everybody, anybody watching that may have a question about where that lies. So for the record, I do not advocate for any type of sexual assault, sexual harassment, or sexual abuse. I advocate for men and women. The Hands Off Foundation Incorporated is a nonprofit organization that specifically advocates for women and children. However, comma period. That does not mean that I don't advocate for men. I host clubhouse rooms every Sunday, which is called a safe space, which you can come in and you can talk your truth, speak your truth, and we can talk through it, work through it. I am not a therapist. I am not a counselor. However, in my room, I've had men, women, children break down crying because they tell their story, and for the first time they feel loved, they feel in a safe space, they feel validated, they feel vindicated, they feel heard, they feel seen. So I do this real time, all the time. I'm the real deal Holyfield, baby. Check in on me. I got receipts all day long. I do this. Now, with that also being said, the first week of May, I believe it's going to be 5th, 6th, and 7th, but I'll double check on those dates. First week of May, myself, Jovan Palmer, and Mike Walton, 3 men, we're getting together and we're talking about how we can be better men. What's going on with men? So this particular conversation coming up is the barbershop check-in is the name of it, and it's men helping men be better men. And we're going to be talking about sexual assault, past traumas, regressive trauma, what has happened in your childhood that you did not talk about. How can we support you? How can we advocate for you? What support groups are available? So yes, I 100% am the real deal when it comes to this advocacy work.
Okay, and with that being said, you all, I am we're going to be wrapping up and we're going to close out as we usually do. We let this go a lot longer because of course the conversation warranted it. We're very engaged. We should be riled up about this. We should be incentivized. We should be incensed about this as well. But the last thing we should be is silent about it. Okay, that is one thing that we should not be about it. But we do want to bring this back a little, and because you're such a fun, dynamic personality, we usually have something where we do the top the top five at five. But because yeah, we went longer. We're gonna well we still went on at five, so I guess we can still do five and five. Yeah.
It's your
All
thing.
right,
I'm
so we're
here. I
gonna do
told you
top
I'm
five
locked
and
in
five.
with you.
All right, cool, cool, cool. All right, so here we go. So, all right, number
Hold on,
five.
let me get a sip of water first, just in case you ask me something I don't get choked up. Hold on, because then they're gonna say
Go
I'm lying.
ahead,
Hold
go
on, let me get
ahead,
some water. Hold on.
go ahead. All right, go ahead.
Hold on, let me get one more. Okay. All right, let's hop in. Let's get it. 5 and 5. Let's go. Let me
Okay,
sit
five
up
for
good
five.
too, so I can make sure I'm focused.
Okay, very good. All right, so give me the lyrics, okay, to Fair East Side from Lean on Me.
um, all I remember is the Fair East Side part, and then the little boy he was singing that real high note. East Side. That's all I got for you. I can't even.
That
I'm
is
not even gonna lie to you like I got the lyrics. I guess I'm 0 for 1. Okay, let's keep going.
wow. Well, I thought for all people, I promise you, I thought you were going to be ready about it. Okay, okay,
Hey,
all
listen,
right.
I'm gonna tell you. So
Uh-huh.
my Achilles heel, right? I grew up playing music. I love music, but I'll
Okay.
forget a lyric in a minute. Now, if it came down to the
Wow.
composition of it or like the beats or whatever, oh yeah, sure, I can probably remember
Okay.
that. But the lyric,
Okay.
oh no, I'll forget that in a minute.
My gosh. Okay. All right. All right. I thought you was about to bust it out, man.
Oh, I
Very
wanted to too. I feel so bad.
sad.
I feel like my whole black card been revoked.
Pulling it, pulling it, pulling it, pulling it. Okay. We're gonna give you another opportunity to get it back though. We're gonna give you other opportunities to get it
Ooh,
back.
this is
Okay.
tough. I hope I don't strike out, boy. Okay, go ahead.
All right. All right, so you definitely dropped some Malcolm X quotes and you referred to Malcolm X, and of course you're going to be a guest speaker, a VIP member of our Books and Bites brunch as a published author. Okay. Name me the best-selling book about Malcolm X. What was the name of it?
The best-selling book about Malcolm X. Oh,
Hmm.
Jesus Christ. Oh, I want to say it's the autobiography of the life of Malcolm X, but
It is. Ding ding
okay,
ding
woo,
ding ding. It is the
woo,
autobiography of Malcolm X.
woo, boy, that the boy. Okay, wow, man, it whoo.
All right.
Well, I
All
was nervous
right.
there. I was like, oh man, okay, go ahead.
I love it. I love it. I love it. All right. All right. Number three. This is a fun one. This is a fun one. Because we out of the because you had me. I was like, man, if you don't get this, they gonna be like, well, Courtney. The committee gonna be like, Courtney, this is who you got on the VIP. This is who. but but you safe. You safe. All right. So number three. The Hawks. All right. The Hawks, the Falcons, or the what's y'all hockey? What's y'all hockey? Oh, the Braves. I'm sorry, that's what it is. The Hawks, the Falcons, are the Braves. Who you got for season tickets? You can only go to one. Where you going?
I can only go to one. I got season tickets.
Yeah,
Uh, Give me the Hawks.
the Hawks. Okay, that's cool. Why?
I love basketball. So I played basketball and football growing up, but I love basketball. I could watch. I love to
Okay.
play it. I love to watch it. I'm a basketball fan.
Okay, all right. I was hoping you was gonna say Braves because when you win them tickets, I wanted you to tell you to call me up and let me ride with you on a couple of them games. I was hoping you said Braves. I said he gonna win them too because you know how it is when you're doing good work. You can never
Yeah,
get good stuff for yourself. but it'll
Right.
always go someone else. So I said I was hoping. I was like, man, he said braids. I'm gonna be like, Jeremiah, I heard you don't want them. I heard you want them tickets, bruh. Let me get up there with you. Okay,
Yeah, no,
number two.
I'm a basketball player.
I love basketball too. You know what? I grew up loving basketball, but it's just something about baseball now that I'm older that I could just relax and enjoy it. Basketball, you still got to be like kind of up on your, the edge of your seat. Everything is happening so fast. With baseball,
Yeah.
you can just kind of sit back.
I think that's who I am as a person. That's how my energy is, right? So if I sit
Yeah.
back too long just chilling, I might mess around and fall asleep. So I'm everything I do is like high energy. We lit, we fired up, we going to it. So yeah, I
You
need all that.
vibe
I need that
up.
basketball energy. That baseball energy too slow for me sometimes.
I love it. I love it. Okay, number two. What is your favorite meal? What
My
is if last meal only if you could only have one meal forever, what is it going to be?
one meal forever. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh man. It'll probably be like a Cajun pasta, with salmon on top. Um, I
Mm.
love so okay. So before I went pescatarian, it probably would have been something with like fried chicken, macaroni and cheese, collard greens, something like that, real soul food meal. But now that I don't eat chicken, or I don't eat meat anything, the only thing I eat is fish, fruit, and vegetables. I love occasion pasta with a nice grilled salmon on top. Oh man,
Yeah.
oh man, it's something salmon included, something with salmon and some type of noodle, whether macaroni or linguine or any of them other ones, something of that nature.
Beautiful. I love a creamy Cajun sauce as well. I'm a
Come
big
on now,
sauce
talk
queen.
to me.
So I do saucy. I definitely well you have some of my cooking at the brunch. And so you'll see. So I might put a little bit of a Cajun cream on something on the side for you so you can a little sampling. All right, so number one, and this is one of my favorites. This is my favorite. And do not feel like you have to say, the person that, for the day. But if you can meet anyone, you have an hour with them to sit and talk with them, living or dead, who's it gonna be?
Ooh, if I could meet anyone, um, I I think, and not because of just the direction, but I think I would. Malcolm X is probably my answer. Yeah, and let me tell,
Really?
but let me tell you why. Yeah, let me
Ah,
tell you why. Let me tell you why. So
I'm so
there
excited. You don't even
is,
know how much that makes me happy because you didn't have to say him, but I really felt like, you know what I mean? Like, come on.
yeah.
Yeah, Malcolm
Um,
needs those. Come on, y'all.
the reason being is because I feel there's so much I could learn from an individual who is able to galvanize the entire world,
Galvanize
right? And
the
we're talking
world.
about
Yes.
pre-social media, we're talking about pre-influencer marketing, we're talking about back when it was not cool to be woke, it wasn't cool to be educated in that manner. We're talking about somebody who came in, was relatively um the exact opposite of how they died, right? Made this complete life change, made this complete 180, if you will, um, and then went on to revolutionize and become a vital member of a conversation that is ongoing. That's not saying that I want to compare myself to him, but that's where I want to be. Like when I leave
Right.
this world, I want people to continue the conversation of advocacy, consent, sexual assault, sexual harassment, sexual abuse, support for survivors. I want the conversation to continue, and I want to have been a pivotal part of that. And I want to, I mean, I want to be on their neck. I want them to feel the same pressure and smoke that people felt when Malcolm was coming. You understand what I'm saying? And this is why I
Yes.
study so much. Like I want people to feel
Yes.
like if you think that you're going to be able to defend rapists or sexual perverts or sexual deviants in front of me and think that I'm not going to eat you alive, man, stop. That's
Come
the
on.
energy that I'm moving with. I want
Come on.
that essence. And I love to just chat with them. See like what was your, not even what was your blueprint, but like how did you know you were becoming that as you became it? I think that would be the thing I want
Ooh,
to
that's a
ask.
good question.
Like I don't
That's a
want to
great
ever seem
question.
too full of myself. You know what I mean? Like I know what I can do and provide
Right.
and bring to the table, but like, did you know you were becoming the Malcolm X as you were becoming it, or were you just going through your journey and all of it was a byproduct? It wasn't even the direction you intended to go.
Oh, I'm gonna. I had to put this quote up. I had to put this comment up rather, and took down your hands off foundation to put this comment up because I truly feel the same way too. I'm very much looking forward to meeting your wife and your children. And
Okay.
also wanted to let you know that because of your participation. I am the director and owner of Colored Only Cafe. That, of course, is going to be providing the bites and the books and brunch bites brunch.
Yeah.
And every Sunday we have a pop up at the core. So this Sunday upcoming, 10% of my proceeds will be going to Hands Off Foundation. Thank you so much for being a part.
Oh
Absolutely.
wow.
So thank you again for being a part of this conversation today. So we are going to continue to build. Like I said, whatever I can do. Colored Only Cafe is not about who we serve, it's about what we serve, and that is food that funds movements. And I definitely think that your movement is so worthy, your cause is so worthy. So again, Jeremiah, thank you again for being a part of the conversation. We look forward to hosting you on Claim Malcolm X Day, meeting your beautiful family. And again, if anybody would like to reach out to Jeremiah, the information is there right at the bottom, scrolling across. It is the handsoutfoundation.org. Please know that he is his personality is very engaging. So, you heard it from me. He'll talk you out all your money. You heard it from me. He's just so engaging like that. He's really with it. He's really about it. And I really love that after the event wrapped on Friday, we still, it was you took some time to talk with me privately, and I appreciate that as well. Because like I said, a lot of times when we're doing this advocacy work, you forget that sometimes other advocates need that support too. And I thank you. I thank you so much for taking the time out and also for making sure to sign that change.org petition. Please continue to share that link. And for all of you all who are interested in attending Claim Malcolm X Day, tickets are still on sale. We still have some available. They are going fast. Please make sure you get your tickets and you get here on Wednesday, May 19th, where we are raising the roof to the heavens in honor of our dear beloved Malcolm X and celebrating with the theme From Little to Legacy. Until next time, you all, thanks for coming, Glow Nation. You know what to do. Glow up.